How are you doing?
Fine. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you feeling?
Better than a lot better than Sunday. That was horrible.
I'm glad.
It is painful.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen the commercials, and they're they're not pleasant to look at.
No.
The people that have it in those commercials look like they dropped their Harley. The road rash from that.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's what it feels
goodness.
like.
I'm sorry. So I'm just looking at my class list here because I feel like I forgot somebody. Bear with me.
Andrew, your hair looks nice.
Thank you.
Age. Oh, I got to see this. Andrew, you're looking dashing. Well done. I think he's blushing. I think we have an internet blush happening with Andrew tonight.
Oh, I didn't realize you were talking about me.
Oh, what other Andrews are there in the room? Let's see. Okay, good. So I've got to pull. That one. I need to go to. Okay. My goodness, the emails I'm getting. Okay, we'll get started in just a second as soon as everyone gets here. Okay, it looks like I got to invite them all again. Ouch. Okay. Okay, let's get started. I realize that not everyone's here, but I wanted to go over some basic sort of housekeeping items, and I would like to sort of share 3 projects with you tonight. One of which I shared over the weekend, but I want to go into that share a little bit more. So let's look at the calendar. Okay, today is October 17th, so we are officially flying right now through this semester. 1 week from tonight, we will begin the first of 2 sessions of reviews. These are 9-minute, full-throated, complete expectation of the building documented by you, relational to the current module and benchmark assignment sheet. Make sure that you review that assignment sheet and pay particular attention to the italicized tasks that are embedded in that multi-page document. Those are the things that we'll be anticipating and that you will want to illustrate and deliver. So we will have live synchronous reviews on the 24th and the 26th. I've got 2 different critics coming. I have Lindsay Woods, who is an architect and a project manager in our office who loves to do these reviews and has participated in many of my reviews since she joined our firm a little over 1 year ago. Oh my goodness. Hold on a second. I'm getting all these phone calls from your classmates. So Ash is calling. It's probably a little early to engage him. I guess I can bring him in, but I can't remember which night is which. And the reason I say that with some frustration is because the night that we will have Lindsay, we will be on campus for those reviews. So whether it's Tuesday or Thursday, I can't remember right now. I'll iron that out and send the announcement. The venue for the other night, for the other critic, who is Caitlin Hill, one of our architects as well in my office, who's also served on many reviews with me before, maybe not as many as Lindsay, but Caitlin is someone who was a student of mine at the University of Detroit Mercy several years ago. She will join us for the other night. So by the end of this benchmark, you will have had 3 different critics in the 2 different benchmarks, and I will try to bring all of them in for the final reviews in December. I've already invited Lindsay to be in the final review in December, and she's confirmed that as well. So I know that you will have continuity, at least in one of the critics, and I'm going to try and get Caitlin and or Christoph to join us again in December. Okay, that's the first order of business. The second order of business is I will be sending out the your individual grade sheet with your partner assignment. So I'll send out the partner assignments initially, probably in a Google Drive document, and I will share with each of you. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'll invite Ash and Okay, so I will send out the grade sheets for this next benchmark later this week, and you will see all of the grade sheets for each of your colleagues, and you will also see a slightly modified and somewhat more elaborate rubric for the criteria that we expect for this benchmark. So you will have that as well in advance of the benchmark next week, so that you can make sure that you sort of identify and check off the expectations as you embark on pulling your materials together for this week. The second thing, the third thing, I want to thank all of you for participating in the course evaluation, particularly for those of you who actually spent some time to craft some written comments. They were very helpful. They were very interesting to read, and I'm actually trying to sort of take stock of them and integrate the suggestions as improvements so that we can make the course better, right, for you for the remainder of the semester. And the very first thing that you suggested was that you get these grade sheets in advance of the review so that you make sure that you're hitting all of the marks that we as critics will be looking for. So I will do that as well. There was one interesting comment that you all raised that I think maybe deserves some clarification. One of us talked about how there would be maybe a desire, or it would be lovely if, right, if I shared with you what one of these projects looks like, right, what a full comprehensive design studio project actually looks like. And I would say two things to that. One is, I never saw that ever in my life, in any of my undergraduate and graduate educational experiences. I never saw what a finished project kind of, you know, dark. And that made it kind of energizing and fun and scary and timid and eye-opening when I finally actually, you know, completed the project and I got to see the project in the midst of everyone else's projects. But I would also say, hold on a second, I'm getting something from work. But I would also say that Ash actually uploaded several of these projects several weeks ago to Blackboard. And so there are maybe 5 or 6 comprehensive design studio projects already in the documents section of Blackboard. You can click on any one of them and look at all of them. And in fact, Ash actually pulled up 1 or 2 of the plates of one of the students and talked about it in one of his lab sessions with you. So if you missed lately, where those documents along with others are there to find and learn from, I encourage you to do that. The fourth thing is I modified the work plan, and the modifications should be fairly clear. I changed the lecture date coming up in November, and struck through that on the calendar and indicated the change to include a lecture by Dustin Otschul. Dustin was a student of mine at Lawrence Tech about a year ago. He's also a Cincinnati Bearcat, yay, and he is an architect in Grand Rapids. And so he is lecturing to Professor Dan Farrow's class, and Dan has invited our section to be in his lecture. So that is occurring on a Thursday night instead of the more conventional lecture night, which is Tuesday night. So that's caught up on the schedule, on the work plan rather, which is also the schedule. And then I had a long meeting with Jane McBride and Carl Dobman yesterday about a number of things relative to this class. And I talked to Carl about my concern that you guys were going to get, well, we used this word back in the 60s and 70s. It's really an unsavory word, but that you guys were going to get screwed, right? If we had to do all of our reviews in 3.5 hours. If you had like an 8 or a 9-minute presentation, you were going to get screwed of any sort of time to, you know, have good feedback from me or Ash or the other critics. You know, if we bring in 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 critics, going to be able to sort of like weigh in and say something meaningful when the clock is ticking as quickly as it would if 12 students had to present in 3.5 hours. So we struck a deal. Ash and I haven't talked to Ash about this yet, but the idea is that we will get the Friday, December 8th session on the Southfield campus, and it will run from 1 p.m. Eastern time until 6 p.m. Eastern time. That's a 5-hour session. That allows for 12 students to present in time slots somewhere between 22 minutes and 24 minutes. Okay, that gives within that 22 or 24 minutes, that gives each of you about 8 or 9 minutes to present, write research, and 1 semester's worth of design effort for this compulsory sort of design studio, right? So the goal is to pin that down, but I have highlighted that date and struck out the date of the 7th, which was a Thursday, as a way of having you cement your travel plans. I made a last-ditch appeal, ladies and gentlemen, for Saturday, and the boss just shook his head no. I felt like I was asking Dad and Mom for a raise or an allowance increase, but he was just not having any part of that. So he wants us to be running and conducting our reviews for Benchmark 3 on campus, and he wants me to consider expanding the time session, which I've done, all for your benefit and for the benefit of our critics. And we will do that on Friday the 8th. So I think it is safe to say that if you were planning on being in Southfield, Oakland County, Michigan, for the reviews, you can begin to make your sort of Airbnb and travel plans accordingly to that, okay? Also, if you're not able, like maybe Alex and Nancy, for instance, or Lynn, if she's unable to drive in, if you're unable to be here for that day, which we certainly appreciate, you need to budget time where you are in order to participate in that 5-hour session. So again, this is going to occur on a weekday when I presume y'all are working. So you will want to work in, but you need to ask for that day off. All right. Quite honestly, all of us, right, are asking for that day off. But our students that are from out of town need to understand that they need to be in the entire class, just like all of us, which I'm sure is not going to be, a big ask, because I think, you'll enjoy that session. I'm going to pause and be available for any questions at this point.
Will we be presenting our final as normal on our screens, or will there have to be print if we are available on campus?
I get this question every year, and the format is virtual and online. You can bring documents to pin on the wall, but here's the rub. We won't necessarily have a camera to show Nancy and Lynn and Alex what you've pinned up on the wall, right? That's part of the issue. Model of your building. Here's another picture of Tracy. So if you were going to hold a model or bring a physical 3D model and not like pictures of it, and they weren't necessarily embedded in a PDF in your Prez, so you would need to hold it up and do kind of a Carol Merrill, showing of the model this way. We need to make the content, whether it's analog content like this or digital content, we need to share it democratically and equally with everyone in the class. Okay, that's the rule of the e-learning sort of scenario, which is the one you're in. Okay. Any other questions? That's a good one. other thing is, and this is maybe good news, this is maybe a good indication, an indication that enrollment justifies it, or they continue for some reason to like yours truly teaching this particular class, but they've got me written, it's in pencil, not in pen. So it looks like, at least the way that it's looking like right now, that I could be back in the spring teaching this class. Again, that depends on enrollment, that depends on the time of the week and all of that. But again, I think it's a 9H or maybe a 6H pencil. So it's a really light and sharp lead, easily erased if you don't press hard. It is not an HB or a 6B, right, Ash?
Unfortunately, I'm gonna miss you so much, Mark. And
you're not teaching with me?
No, and you're gonna miss me too.
Oh my goodness! So who do I get?
Dan Farrow for both sections.
Oh,
so
sure.
he will.
So yeah, Dan and I are not going to get along because I swear like a truck driver, and he's a good boy. I am not, and so that is going to be very difficult, I think, for us. There's nothing wrong with truck drivers.
This is
oh, that's too bad.
This is the how the school is going now. Is like every coordinator will teach the lab sections with the S. So if there is 2 or 3, there is currently no more than 3 sections per studio. Like in this coming spring, it will be ID2, 4, probably 5, and comp. The coordinator of the studio will teach 1 section as of
in the
this
year.
semester.
Yeah,
and
then a lab in the other.
Yeah, his lab and your lab, in this case in comp design, his lab and your lab. It's like it's not like I don't like it, but I haven't seen. We used to teach this lab as a, especially in comp design, as a consult. Exactly what I'm doing now, case by case basis. But I'm not sure if this will be converted to like a lecture based, which is to me it doesn't serve the design well. I'm not sure. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, well, I can tell you right now with my longshoreman vocabulary, and I have a feeling we can be pretty sure that in the fall of 2000, right, a year from now, I will probably not be teaching Comp Design Studio again. I think Dan will probably put the kibosh on that. So, you know, y'all consider yourselves lucky right now that you got the dream team with Ash and me. And,
I told them you caught the last train leaving the station. So one of them said, "Oh, I'm happy to hop on." Thank God.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. The last train. So, well, you'll all be like in grad school by then, and taking Advanced Design Studio, and who knows if the enrollment starts to sort of increase appreciably, we might run into each other again. But so I do know that I'm on the schedule, and not that matters to any of you, because once you're finished with this course, you move into the next sort of core curriculum studio.
Can I add?
Good.
A couple of clarifications as well, Mark. This is why I'm probably joining early, because I really want to. If you are doing an individual sessions, I had the chance and the privilege to see almost everybody.
Fantastic!
Except few. So I'd like to see if they will be presenting today, so that I can kind of join you to look at the structure, enclosure, and HVAC. So could you please give me a hint who's presenting today?
Yeah, let me pull that sheet up.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that I have seen everybody to give an equal
Oh, no, that's
opportunity
not
to
it.
everybody. I saw some twice, but you know, I don't want these people who I have not seen to file for discrimination. Okay.
Let's see. So tonight it's Lynn,
Okay.
Michael, Wu, Carmen, Paige, and Courtney. So 6:15, 7 o'clock, 7:45.
6:15, 7
o'clock and 7:45, and we'll be done at 8:30 with Lynn, Michael, Wu, Carmen, Paige, and Courtney.
7:45. That's 8.
Paige and Courtney.
What's the time?
6:15. 6:15 is Lynn and Michael. 7 is Wu and Carmen, and then 7:45 is Paige and Courtney.
7. Okay, 7:45. This is the session that I'm interested in. 7:45. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to share this with you so you have it.
Yeah, 7:45.
Okay, it's in your mailbox.
Thank you. Can I add couple more comments? I did.
Of course.
I did receive the midterm, and thank you so much for all of you. I cannot be more happier. Just couple comments. The grade for people who are not aware that the lab grade was posted. Please go to the Blackboard, your grade, and you'll find yours for Module 1. I decided because of the nature of this, I'm just clarifying things here. For the nature of this class, I'm running it slightly different from the on-ground because of, you know, Mark's flexibility, our limited time in here. So I found that sharing Mark, the benchmarks and the intervals of the class benchmark 1 and 2 is really very helpful to sit with him and watching everybody presenting. This gives me an idea how everybody is doing, where the project is going. So I reduced the modules that you have for this class to 3 instead of 4 as per the syllabus and the schedule. So the schedule, I'm gonna edit it and send it to you as Mark did today. So it's gonna be, again, 3 modules. Module 1 is the research. You have been given a grade for it, everybody. So please look at your grade on the Blackboard. So if you are not aware of that, please take a note and go and see your grade in this module. My module 2 will be with Mark next week. I'll be grading everybody, and I'll send you the grade and the rubrics, my comments as well as Mark does. And the last one, so this module is 15, 15, 15. Okay, we'll add like 10, 10, 10 over the last module, which is more of an improvement. If you want to provide 3Ds, you have better idea of your structural system, your enclosure, and your HVAC. If you want to add, again, more literature, not literature, more narrative on your HVAC, like a paragraph or so, that would be greatly appreciated. I'm going to post some course materials as well in terms of lectures and codes. One funny comments, and I really want to share it with you. Said that, oh, my peer is giving me the grade. So I don't. You're when you grade each other, okay? This grade is advisory. You don't know about probably Egyptian dictators. So yeah, I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to have my own vocabs like Mark here. So again, no matter what, is you can all say Josh will get an A, and for some reason I'm the only one who will give him a C, and I can justify what I'm doing. So don't get me wrong. I'm just telling you that when you grade each other, to me and Mark, this is a merely advisory. That's not the grade that you're gonna get. Okay, so please clear up your mind regarding this point. The instructor is the one who gives you the grade, but this is like sort of a sharing. Probably Mark can comment on that, but from my side,
Yeah.
I go through slightly probably different rubrics than Mark's and Dan's. So when Dan approached me saying, okay, Ash, can you send me the rubric for assessment? I said, okay, but my rubrics is different from yours, because yours is, kind of a more where the person enthusiastic. I don't care about this sugar. I have a different rubrics, like the originality of the research, how you dig deep, how deep you went in your research. Not, I'll give you some points for enthusiasm, more clarification, but that's not my rubrics. So I just want to clarify this, that when Mark or me get some advisory grade from you grading your peer, that's not the grade that you be having.
Right. That's a good point, Ash. I want to expand on that. I certainly agree with that. The motive, right, the purpose for each of you grading or having the opportunity to offer critical feedback to one another is really to make you aware, right, that this has to happen. That at this advanced level in your education, it's incumbent on us to ask you to be critical, to be helpful and constructive, and to honestly put your own, if you will, heart on the line, to put yourself out there so that, you can actually say something and stand for something in support of, right, the evolving career of a classmate. And so I think it's really good experience for you to do that. And it's something that you should anticipate happens, right, as you move into practice deeper and deeper. And if you serve on, like the building committee of your mosque or your church or your synagogue or the school district that you might be affiliated with, right, you will have to say yay or nay to the architects that are submitting proposals, right? Or the landscape architects or the planners that might be servicing your community group or institution. So at some point you have to be able to express, right, a critical perspective on design. And part of this studio is to acclimate you to the many things that happen in reality. So that's the motive for it, but I concur. You guys might give each other grades or just indications on the rubric of where your work fell according to you and your classmates. I look at each one of those, I read each one of those, and I do smile when I see them. I'm glad that you're doing it, and I appreciate them. But as soon as I get them, I put them in a file. I do not those assessments with anything else. They stay in the file, and that's actually where they belong. So they have no role in the assessment that I believe you've earned. And furthermore, when we have guest critics who participate in our reviews and process their own grade sheets for each of you, their grades do not have any bearing on the grade I believe you've earned. All right, so I want to be abundantly clear. The critical comments that you're getting from one another and from critics And by the way, you're going to get twice as many critics giving you grade sheets next week as you got last month, and you'll probably get 3 or 4 times as many in December, right? So there's just no better way to do this than to let you see that and react to it and hope that there are things in those comments that can help you improve your work as it's evolving and maybe your career as it plays out after this class. It's really meant to just be helpful and to curate in you that critical voice. But the grades and the comments and the opinions, which I value from each of you and your critics, has no bearing whatsoever on the grades you've earned working with me. The relationship that we have is much more sort of substantial and profound because we're spending a lot more time together than the critics are. And also, I see things in your work that they can't. I know what's missing, I know what's there, and I know what was intended by what you've documented or illustrated or shown or said. So I give a lot of credit. I give a lot of credit or consideration for the intangible things of your presentation. So I wanted to amend that as well. We have to be alert to time. I want to screen share if I could. Ash, do you have anything else to say?
Just if you need me, guys. Again, you might want to write this down. My office hours are because somebody said, "Oh, we hope that Ash would give us a schedule." I give it in a couple other occasions, but you are welcome to send me an email. My time on campus is 1 to 4 on Wednesdays. Okay, so this could extend. It depends on. It could be 1 to 5, whatever. Sometimes I cannot stay late because simply I teach another course online at 7 o'clock, so I have to be home before that time on Wednesday. So Thursday I can be there around 11:30 in the morning till 1, and probably after 4 for an hour or so, because I have again to come back and catch Mark's online session. Wednesdays is the same, and some Tuesday, if you are lucky, like this coming Tuesday, I'm on campus. You can catch me before 12 or after 2, okay, for an hour or so before, an hour or so after. I have a Senate, faculty Senate meeting on this coming Tuesday. Mondays, I can't meet in the morning, so what I can do is I can meet after the studio around 4 to 5 for another hour. So that's pretty much my schedule for whoever is interested. For people who are online, my best bet is Fridays. That's my research day, but I'm willing to give you an hour of my time for everyone, 45 to an hour of everyone who is out of state.
Okay, thank you, Ash. So we'll see you when you return. So you can just enter back in the session. We'll continue to run. And since you've been invited, I don't think you'll need to be invited again, or you could just leave it on and go about your business. I'll see you back here in a little bit.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, so let's, I want to go through 2 projects very quickly. And the point of this is to sort of cope with a discussion on simplicity. This is the work of Michael Maltzahn. He was here in Detroit. It must have been back in the spring of last year. He gave a lecture, and this was one of the projects that he showed. I believe this was also on Dezeen or arcdaily.com the other day. Michael Maltzahn's work is really important because it is work like the work of Loha that you'll see in a minute that has really added to use residential buildings. But I want to emphasize tonight how simple but but powerful design moves can produce simple and powerful buildings. So let's look at just the basic things in terms of what you see. You see a series of volumes over either a transparent base, which alludes to retail or common space lobbies and entrances as such, or you see in the case where the building tapers off to the right on this slide, you see the ground level parking. Simple moves, simple basic strategy of this over that. The other thing that I think is important is that there's not a lot of fuss, right? This is a very simple approach to materiality and even to fenestration, which is the strategy of windows. And whether you like this approach to architecture or not, I think for a class where you have so much anticipated of you, you might want to consider simplicity. The building is actually on the lower right. If you want, look at Michael Maltzahn Architecture or michaelmmaltzahn.com and look up the Crest Apartments to see this. A concave or a chord-like massing to it. So in other words, what that arc of masses do to the site is it privileges open space on the ground floor. So the simple move of letting the building not sit on the entire volume of the air rights of the site allows open space to be privileged here. The vertical stacking of the units to the right, where you see the yellow roof to the very right, where you see the columns of several corners, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that allows for many units to have views or prospects back to the street where the site's ground plane is a foreground element. Similarly, the step-down terraces that occur on the street have the ability, that simple move allows for many units to have a coat and tie and facade on the street. So I really value in Michael's work the directness and the simplicity of it. Here's the street elevation. You can see that off to the right where the white Lexus is located or the white Toyota is located, there's lots of green space. That's the green space that I was talking about. The facade is a series of solids over glass, this over that. This is the facade that pushes in to privilege the open space. So each of these vertical towers of these multiple corner units allow for the facades to have orientation to the street or to the garden. Here's the solution for parking over the ground plane. And if you look to the left of the image, you actually see that the landscaping is treated as a water feature. So this is really a lovely strategy to not only privilege the open space, but to program it in a meaningful way. This is that indention. This is that condition where you can see the lot line defined by the black fence. You see the shed and the telephone pole along the property line of the neighbors. But you also see that that property line is defined on Mr. Maltzahn's site by a lush green landscape with some sort of stone and aggregate as the drive surface for the parking lot. Also notice how in Michael's work and in the work of Lorcan's work in a few moments, you see that the exterior is treated not only with punched windows in a very strategic way, but sometimes larger openings allow for stairways that are egress stairs to make their way out of the building and then march along the building to get to the public way. This is a view from the courtyard, from the main sort of lobby. This is that exit stairway I just showed you. And this is a typical room. Notice how simple it is. I mean, it's basically a full bed with a nightstand and a small desk. This room is probably not 12 feet wide. This room has 2 windows, both operable, simple ceiling fan, simple strategy for flooring, for wall materials. So really, I think an important lesson in how to take a simple idea and extend it into the realm of a profound impact. This is the project that I shared with many of you with the purpose of talking to those of us that are doing courtyard buildings like Alex, right? Like Rasha. So the purpose for sharing this with you is to let you see more of Lorcan's work. We have the opportunity to work with his firm at Brush Park right now. But I wanted to let you look at his site and the way that he documented this building. This is a simple cube. It sits really on the full sort of footprint of the site. Most of the cube is raised up off of the ground, but not all of it. And the part that is sitting on the ground, the 3 sort of openings that you see behind the screen walls along the street, are the entrances to the building and to residential units. All of the residential units have their own window and window frame. And you can see how some of those frames are black, some are white. You can see how some of them are all windows, and some of them are balconies. Some of them have magic packs, some of them don't. The entrance to this building is off to the right, and it's a 2-story entrance. And then the residential entry and the parking for this building is in the lower left, where there is an at-grade entry. To point to it, it is, let's see, right under that cursor, directly down. And then to the lower level, you see off to the very left, there's actually a archway that leads down. I want to talk about this. Cube is pushed by external contextual forces the way that, you know, when you apply any sort of lateral pressure on any solid, whether it's clay or any soft-ish material, it will leave an impression. So that impression in this building is evident by that curve that is not only on the street, but it's also on the rear facade and the side facades. And that has allowed for all of the window units to actually then be the primary condition on the facade. It's not a huge idea. It's a simple idea with a really profound impact. The other reason I want to talk about this drawing is because I think it's really important that for this benchmark and the next benchmark, that you have a beautiful drawing, right? Doesn't have to be a beautiful rendering. It can be a beautiful drawing about the idea. And a drawing like this sort of frontal axonometric drawing, is a very interesting way to distill, right, all of your ideas into one diagram. Oh, I love this set of diagrams. Someone asked a question recently about, you know, I'm not clear if we're supposed to do like AutoCAD or Revit drawings, or can we do drawings, like analog drawings like these for our presentations? And I'd say, hell yeah, these are the best, these are awesome drawings, right? Oh, and by the way, let me remind you, you're looking at a world famous architect's website, and these are his drawings. These are the drawings of his facade studies, 9 of them, right, for the facades. And you can see the sort of where the final iteration comes from in terms of, you know, looking at the story, right, that each of the elevations in this sketch are telling you. And remember how I talked about the value of diagrams. We talked a little bit about those diagrams with Alex. Certainly we talked about them with Lynn's drawings in the benchmarks from last time. Well, these are more of those. So in the upper left, you see, you know, a full footprint of what that program looks like on the site. And the second drawing, really, which is to the right, shows that footprint raised up a floor off of the grade plane to help you see what's happening at grade and below grade. And then you see in diagram 3, the external context and the pressures, the vectors of the context acting on the building. And then the fourth drawing showing you how those windows can re-establish the counterbalance or the counterpoint to that contextual pressure. So the windows fight that pressure and the building envelope acquiesces to that pressure, right? It bends, literally bends and receives that pressure. That's the big idea, guys. That's all it is. It's really that simple. And I love how those 4 diagrams can tell that story. What's this drawing? This is a 3-dimensional drawing of the courtyard. And when you look at this, you see that the courtyard has no roof. You see that it's a single loaded corridor now, but it's not just a continuous balustrade that marks and vertically. The balustrade actually then folds and runs up vertically and at a diagonal to connect the experience and the impression of that baluster and balcony balustrade with the floor above. So it creates that kind of ability, right, to connect the floors in a vertical fashion. Oh, I love this too. I was at Meijer. Yes, I went to Meijer last Sunday, and which is a store I always kind of get nervous and sweaty in because I've just so many people buying so much food. I just can't even fathom that. But I love the way, right, that people buy their 8-packs of Pepsi, and they let those rings that hold the Pepsi bottles straddle the panel of the basket. So half of that 8-pack is hanging in the basket, and half of that pack of eight Pepsis is hanging outside of the grocery cart. And this drawing sort of shows that whole idea that the sort of I guess sinuous and continuous balcony balustrade hangs from the top parapet of the roof. I just sort of love that. Again on this slide, as you can see right here. So this is that just to the right of my arrow. That is the Pepsi bottles, and this slide here. And then of course we talk a lot about the roof plane. The roof plane is a legitimate program opportunity that's not lost on Lorcan's work. And you can see how simple it is. It's probably like a Trex brand or an AZEK brand decking. You can see some of the condensing units to the left. They're there. You know, you will hear them. You will see them if you walk by. But in this case, they're kind of screened by a low metal, probably aluminum screen wall with some plantings that then meander around those air conditioning units to create outdoor rooms for sitting and gathering and looking, you know, at the beautiful Los Angeles sunset through the haze, of course. And then another view, right, of that. And then the view of, kind of reminds me of Michael's drawing, right? View of that atrium and the light from the atrium kind of running up vertically into the sky. Really a beautiful image. And then looking down into the courtyard, again, single loaded corridor. The the excuse to do this in all white then acknowledges and gives presence to the windows as a figural and textural element on the facade, and then gives and then making the window simple on the interior facades here privileges and gives expression to a really vibrant and exciting courtyard experience. You know, no rooms per se, no doors. Look how like the divider between a hallway and a sleeping room, right, is really kind of just millwork. So thinking of storage and closets and walls, not just as studs and drywall with tape and paint, but maybe thinking of it as furniture, thinking of ways that in these very small footprints we can actually leverage storage. You know, thinking of the bed not just as something that you sleep on, but that has like drawers and millwork under it to store things that don't need to be seen all day long. I mentioned the two-story lobby. This is really quite lovely. So you have the stucco from the outside on one facade, and then millwork, right, as an interior facade, and then a real sort of kind of whimsical approach to the Conair sash and glass storefront for the entrance, and then a kind of a it's at eye level, like we've talked about before. You have a real appreciation for those frames, those window frames, their color variation, their depth. Notice how the depth changes. So they are deeper at where the facade receives the most pressure, which is the center of the facade, and they get shallower as you get to the corners. So I love that image. This is a really terrific image. This is actually the cover of the current architectural record. So if you want to dig deeper and read a little bit more about this building from a critical perspective, I suggest that you go to your library in your office and look for this issue on housing, and you'll see that. You'll also see Mr. Maltzon's building that I just showed you. And then the shot here shows the building in the foreground. This shot is kind of like his blue and white diagram, and then a site plan. So in all, this is about 68,000 square feet. This is 32 units. And I went to 1038.com. It's actually TEN, the number 38, no spaces.com, to look at what they say about the building, because that's the broker. And you can rent one of these for about $2,700 a month. I don't know what it costs to put your car in there, but I just really kind of walked away thinking that you know, design really can add value to even the most sort of prosaic program, right? Housing. So that's a very interesting thing. So in some ways, this is a comparable project because of the program. It's got a comparable number of units. It's a comparable number of stories. It has a comparable parking program. This site's maybe a little bit smaller than yours, but it's I think it's comparable in many ways. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it tonight so that you saw it from sort of my perspective, and hopefully you'll be inspired to look at it more carefully. So let's move on to, unless there's any questions, let's move on to the sign up, and I'm looking at Lynn and Michael, and I think I saw something from Lynn earlier. Yep, so Lynn, I'm gonna go ahead and open up your stuff here and we can get going. Okay, I'll see the rest of you later tonight or on Thursday. Okay, I'm ready.
Sure. So I guess following up from last week where the exercise had been putting the structure and the columns in place, and this week was sort of, I guess, fixing up the residential units and really taking a focus on elevations. So the first couple plates I have for you are just of the first and second floor and where they are today.
Mhm.
The parking and levels 3 and 4 haven't changed very much, so that's why I haven't included them for tonight's
Oh,
discussion.
I don't think I have those. Yeah, I don't have those in this package, right?
No, you should just have levels 1 and 2.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, because the
Okay, so now I'm on plate 3.
plate 3. Yeah, so this plate still needs to be annotated, and we saw it a little bit in my first benchmark. So just sort of starting to elaborate a little bit on sort of materials and textures and inspiration for the facades, and where I'm hoping to take these as far as color palette, materiality, this idea of, I guess, sort of screening, punch windows, large windows, their proportions, and where that's sort of coming from. So plate 4 has an updated elevation, our north elevation on Alfred. So this was sort of going off of some of your direction from last week, where we had sort of unitization of windows and spacing between them. So I don't have diagrams of this yet, but there are 4 unit types, and the spacing is either sort of 1 or about a half unit in between the various openings.
Mhm.
The balconies also now are sort of proportioned to stop between the midpoint between the windows, so trying to sort of get that organization and structure and bring that back in. The big change, I guess, is sort of the ornament or the screening I'm putting on the priority facades that face Alfred and John R. Just looking to provide a bit of privacy to those large windows there. They open up onto the balconies, obviously, and those are coming from living rooms, and then where they cross over, those are bedrooms, so a little bit more private space. Again, with the materials, the change from masonry to the porcelain panel system, we see just to sort of, I guess, emphasize the pushing and pulling that I had done in the plan, in a plan view.
And the material for this sort of harlequin pattern is which material in plate
So
3?
So think of the Corten steel. So that's, so there's images of it in the
Yep.
top left, and then the fencing
Yep.
over there. So looking at those, and then the 2 smaller ones are just sort of, I guess, patterns from more historical homes, and where I sort of come up with the pattern that I put on is sort of based off of more of those references, but in a more modern material and also an industrial material that I think speaks to
Mhm.
Detroit. So that's where the fencing or screen is coming from. And then that color of the steel also ties back to the red brick, which again is quite prominent in the area as well. And so I'd like to use it. So, and then plate.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say plate 4 has the other sort of priority facade as well. Same ideas. And then
Lynn, so I should probably like take the longer, more professorial approach to this, but and I guess I can. So I really appreciate what you've drawn here. That's the first thing. The second thing, you're not the first sort of person that has accepted the role of texture and layers in their work and using and deploying the strategy to achieve textures and layers through something that you inherited from the context. If you look, for instance, at the work of Robert Venturi from the 1960s and any of his work thereafter, he's written extensively about this theme. And if you look at any of his buildings, particularly his drawings, I think you will see tonight, as you race out of this critique and start looking up his work, if you don't know it already, you'll see why I'm saying all of this. I want you to appreciate that the deployment of ornament is really an extraordinary thing to see in an architecture studio, because most people don't have the courage to do it or the capacity to do it. Ornament is actually really difficult, and so I appreciate your confidence in doing that. So that's the sort of professorial response to it. sort of studio response that I have is really just one of clarification. The surface upon which the Cortens lay what is the surface that the Corten pattern is floating over?
I was looking at, there's
Is that metal
a
panel?
thin, well, I was originally looking at metal panel, and then I found this really intriguing thin set porcelain that I had shared with Ash that I was looking at as well.
So it's a panelized product that is anchored
Yes.
or fastened to the facade?
Correct.
Okay, and so I don't mean to be, Eeyore here, Debbie Downer, as they say on Saturday Night Live, but you're aware of the potential for the Corten to weep and rust?
Yes.
Okay. You were at Ryerson, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you were there, did you see the Hariri and Pontarini School of Economics building on the UT campus? Do you know the one that I'm talking about?
I don't think I've seen it, or I can't recall off the top of my head.
So it's sheets, it's rain screen sheets of velvety Corten steel. I'd like you to look it up. It's right on the UT campus. It's really, really exquisite. But I want you to look at pictures, maybe Street View pictures or Pinterest pictures that, show the impact of that Cortens on sills, on the ground, on the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
It's indelible, and you kind of have to accept it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Tracy buys a leather Louis Vuitton bag, and it's her pride and joy, and Jackson, my insane beagle, gets a hold of it and starts scratching it and chewing it, right? That's she has to learn to live with that, right? That's the new patina. But with Cortens, it has a patina that is difficult to counteract.
Okay.
I'm just telling you that so you're aware of the concerns that some of the critics might have for it.
Okay.
Did you consider deploying the Harlequin pattern in the masonry wall?
I hadn't thought about it as much. I guess there isn't, the volume of masonry
There's not as
isn't
much surface.
as high, and I think it sort of carries a certain character on its own that will let it stand as it is. It's hard to see, I guess, in the color version, but I have added like soldier courses and other sort of masonry details within that facade, and that was sort of
I do see it. Yeah, I do see it in the renderings, not necessarily in the elevations. I'm just wondering because the mason, right? So when you're designing buildings like this, you guys are never like in just the studio drawing and then you hand the sheets off to the technical team and they start detailing it, and then the contractor sees it eventually when it's like too late. The contractor is always involved in the conversations about the foundations, about the wall system, about the detail, about the brick selection, about mortar, about windows and jam extensions and all of that stuff. So when you're drawing these things in the office, and you know this, right? It's a conversation that's kind of going back and forth. It's like you draw a line and then you get feedback, and you draw another line and you get feedback. So that feed loop sort of process occurs as you're detailing things. And I suspect that a contractor might say, wow, if we can't get the Corten steel to do this, or we can't curb its weepiness, for example, my words, not his, is there a way that we can look at the masonry to do that? My masons love to do stuff like this. Let me show you some examples. So the feedback loop may go that far. And I'm not saying do it, and I'm not saying change it, I am saying that you need to be cognizant of that feedback loop as you're designing, because it's a really interesting one, and you learn a lot about what the trades can do and what those materials can do, and the concerns that those materials bring to the question of maintenance and durability and warranty and all of that stuff. Having said all of that, I love the way these things are evolving. I actually really appreciate the way the balconies have sort of refined themselves a little bit more. And I'm intrigued with the idea that the Harlequin pattern is maintained over the fixed windows, and then sort of there's a cut, like an elision, that reveals the entire window when it's an operable and window group that serves a balcony. So that's pretty clever. That's a pretty nice strategy.
So the next couple of plates are just sort of showing the various facades and where they are today, sort of working. I've been starting with the priority and working my way around.
Right.
Plate 6, you'll see, I guess, about as far as I've gotten is to the, I guess, the property line side. This is that's east-west, sorry.
So this is, the plate 6 is looking south, and I see the stadium in the background on the horizon. So this is looking at Alfred.
Yeah, this is on Alfred, looking back towards the corner there. And then I guess the block on the bottom right would be the historical property.
Yeah.
So these less priority facades will have the panel system, but they won't have the Harlequin pattern or the ornament as we sort of move away off that priority corner. But then again, using the different materials to break up the volume and sort of define the various volumes and provide interest, even as we move around. I think in doing this exercise, I'm already finding things I want to change, but overall I'm enjoying where things are going, but I'm itching to make adjustments already.
The west facade, those are fixed screens, is that correct? For those three sort of large archways, 3 openings?
So the 3 openings
on the west facade, what is that infill material?
Oh, those are louvers for the ramp to the parking and the mechanical.
Okay.
And then we have curtain wall for the exercise room and the community room that are closer to the Alfred. And then plate 7. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
The only other thing I was going to say about ornament is that there's do you know the work of David Adjaye from Great Britain? Adjaye.
I think I've seen a bit of it. Yes.
Yeah, we're actually working together on something right now. So if you go to his project in Harlem, it was just built a year or so ago. It's a housing block in Harlem, New York, in New York City, and you look at, I mean, it's kind of this sort of sober gray housing block with unusual windows, not unlike some of the windows that you saw in the presentation tonight. But the facade looks like this really severe, concrete, brutalist sort of expression. But if you look more carefully at it, you begin to see the sort of ornament in it. You begin to see a very subtle, rich pattern that creates this kind of natural, if not organic, overall reading of that surface. And it reminds me of your plate 3 and that top picture that has the perforated sheet metal that has various sizes of openings, small, medium, and large, and then several extra large that run together to create a much larger net-free area. So that's another way, right, to deal with openings, not just, or to deal with ornament, right? Not just to make it something that is applied like rouge or lipstick, but that is something that is something that is intrinsic to the material itself. So that could be another way to explore that. All right, keep going.
Yeah, and then the final plate is just then looking from the hard corner at where things are going, and that's most of what I have for you today. The remaining facade, the alley facade, I still haven't completed touching everything up and adjusting the window proportions and spacing and all of that, so I don't have it ready for you today. Yeah, that's what I've got for you.
Good. Okay, so yeah, just keep flying. I follow where this is going, and I'm actually kind of delighted. You know, you may not be hearing that in me, but I'm delighted that your project took this direction this week, and that you're trying to layer on a little bit more intentionality with the project in terms of its reading, in terms of its design. Naturally, though, the expectations of the project are more about the tectonics and the at this benchmark. But I know that you're, from my previous discussions with you, that you're still tracking on that in that area. And then I'll just say this to you and everyone tonight, that if you need to visit over the weekend, I'm agreeable to do that.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead, Ash.
What are you guys looking at? The Google Drive or what? I just want to.
Oh, I'm sorry. She shared a lot of times. What they'll do is share like a email of a PDF package.
Oh,
so maybe Lynn, yeah. So that
I'll send it to you as well, Ash. Sorry about that.
what happens when we
did you update it?
Yes, it's updated.
Okay.
One moment.
It's on my desktop here, but
yeah, what happens if we do screen shares is that the bandwidth to look at the drawings gets crunched up, and it's hard to communicate. This is a little bit easier. Okay, good.
Sorry, Ash. I'll send you an email separately. I guess we can discuss at another time or right now, I guess, about structure and systems and where they've gone. I've done a little bit more research and to what I think I'd like that to be based on our discussions, and still following the ideas we had, but with some slight changes. So I do want to have a separate conversation.
I would defer this to if you need me, Lynn, this Friday. I'm available at your convenient time. Anybody, that's you, Alex, or Nancy, people who are out of state, available as well this Friday, so we can have a discussion on. So I don't want, Mark has a schedule. I don't want him to.
Sure, I'll send you an email to set that up.
But please, I'd love to look at it, and I'd like that as well from Michael, if he is here, if he's listening to me, Paige and Courtney, and Carmen sent an email with a shared file. That's nice. I looked at it. I have a few comments for you. So I'd like Michael, Paige, and Courtney to share with me what they are going to present today.
Okay, good. So we need to go to Michael now. So Michael, do you have some material? Thanks, Lynn. That you want to screen share?
Yeah, I'm going to screen share. I don't have it printed for the moment.
Okay.
Sure.
No worries.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Walk us through this. Oop.
So here was the note you sent me, your gift, and it's.
Yep. I remember Christmas in September.
Yeah.
October. Right. So let me just walk through this. Right. The top drawing was my sectional diagram of your pinup, or not your pinup, but the desk crit that we had, where you had that sort of mask, right? That L-shaped mask that sort of bent around the corner. And so I'm showing that thing as a roof condition at the top right, and then I'm showing a single line that hangs down from it to show the sort of screen-like quality that the mask gave you. And so then that mask gave you a sort of an atrium sort of condition between the residential units and the surface of the mask, which you talked about as maybe a virtue for the development. So I made some observations that I thought would be worth noting. That of course was the single loaded corridor is somewhat inefficient. Most developers would tell you consider a double loaded corridor, contrary to what you just saw out of Loha's work, or rather out of Michael Maltzon's work. But nevertheless, the atrium is not necessarily a programmable space. Thus, it is expensive because you'll have to heat it or treat it, and it has a whole code issue that we've talked about a number of times with other students. I also feel like if you do single-loaded corridors, it triggers you to need more floors to stack on top of one another, and we have a limit to that. And I think that was, for me, the most compelling point. And then the residential units at the bottom, because of your interesting sort of stacking, either get really, really deep at the bottom and really, really shallow in depth at the top, or it's kind of like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. If they all stay the same size as like the top unit, then they kind of have to run at a diagonal. Right. So I just thought, again, I'm just trying to promote simple so that you can move towards complex in this semester. Not just you, but all of y'all. So that you have a very simple approach to architecture and design, so that you can, and I'll work all semester long to elaborate on that design, but so that you have a very simple strategy that you can document all of the more tectonic things that our class is anticipating. That was why I prompted you with this sketch.
So I took that idea, and here's what I did with it. I went with the double stacked. I kind of moved the move that curtain wall into each floor, and then every floor on top of the retail is rotated so that it faces more and more of that southern light.
What's the orientation here on this image?
Right now,
what am I looking at?
The building on the right of it is that tall brick building. So this is the southern facade, essentially, because the angles, the site's on like a 30-degree angle. So if we go to the site picture,
oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So if we look at it from street view, it won't be hanging off nearly this much. It'll be about to there. But what it does is it makes sure that the two most valuable facades, the north and the south, are very focused for the residential space. And then on top of that, what that lets it do by offsetting them is giving you all this area to create balconies per floor, or large community areas, which I'm going to fill with plants eventually when I get there. So I did one apartment layout, that apartment in there. And so each apartment is about exactly the same size. They each get 4 of these large windows, depending on how big I can go with the windows. These are 5 feet across at the moment. So you still have, I still have longer and skinnier apartments. Here's kind of like, I don't know, you would call a really nice 1-bedroom apartment that just has a lot of space, bathroom that has access from both the open area and the bedroom, big closet, plenty of room for anything else.
Wait, can you keep it at that scale for a second? Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Can you zoom out and let me just see the plan?
Mm-hmm. So this is the second floor plan. What I did with these stairs is one of them is orientated to the ground floor level. Here, this is the basement floor plan. This would be the ramp going down. I haven't put in all of the parking spots, but I put in a few.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to bump that up to 50. Here would be, in between these two walls would be a mechanical electrical room, and then a shaft that runs up through all the floors. This staircase and elevator, the stairs aren't showing on this floor, but this staircase and elevator is orientated towards the top floor, level 5. So my plan for this is to create an atrium space on the 5th floor in this last apartment here.
Mm-hmm.
This will be over to about there, but it'll be an atrium space that leads up to the roof
Mm-hmm.
to have like this garden roof top access with the elevator going up there.
Mm-hmm.
And then pretty much each floor is relatively simple. The first floor, this would be retail space. Right. I broke it up just to put this hallway in the middle for easy egress, but these walls can be repositioned anywhere based on how I want to.
Can you zoom out just a second?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm still struggling in terms of what I'm looking at. What's my orientation here?
You're always in this orientation where it's not.
So the building actually hugs the southeast corner of the site and opens up to the northeast corner? It doesn't sit at the northeast corner?
No. It hugs the southeast along this building, and then there's a bunch of open room here, which allows for this large overhang and makes this corner very open. But then when you look at it and from the street view, you'll be able to see all of the, I don't have a street view coming up this street, but when you look at it.
Is this Alfred?
Yes, this is looking, no, this is John R. This is looking south on John R.
John R. Right, okay.
So there is this large overhang and a lot of open space underneath it that could be programmed into something. And then all of the corners have this like either fallback facade or growing facade.
Okay, and how many units do you have on a floor? Big are they?
Sorry. Units per floor is 10.
Uh-huh.
Wait.
And how large? What's like the units on the left? How big are those?
These ones on the left are roughly 1,200 square feet, so more than enough to get 2 bedrooms in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, this is the first floor.
Yeah, those are pretty big. I think those are too big. So there's a couple of, so the elephant in the room is the elephant, right? It's the overhang. So I'll just say this. I'll just say this really directly. You won't be able to do the oversail of those cantilevers over the property line because that's the right of way. There are some encroachments that are allowed within the right of way. I think Chapter 32 of the Michigan Building Code contemplates them. Here's what they are: glass canopies, like for a marquee, right? Like at a hotel, like a porte cochere.
Mhm.
And flagpoles and cornices that are kind of what you might say superficial, right? They are of the surface of the architecture. They're not intrinsic to the structure in the sense that they are things that adorn the facade, but they are not things that you can, live in. They are not occupiable space. So the property line is a governor for all of your developments, just like it is for the homeowners to the west and the development that we're doing to the east. Again, there are things that are allowed to extend into the right of way, but they are, and the code talks to that, and you should look at that chapter. But they tend to always be elements, not objects or rooms. That's the first thing. The second thing is those projections or encroachments, I guess that's the better term, are also limited in a dimensional way, right? So it's like above 15 feet, then the limitation is more or less unlimited, right? So, I mean, you need to read that section very, very carefully, but like a flagpole could sail across the street,
Right.
in terms of the code. But in Detroit and in almost every municipality within the state of Michigan that applies the building code, here's the deal. Not only does the code permit those encroachments, but the code says that the final decision on those encroachments is up to the local official.
Mhm.
And the local official will probably hear from like the fire department, right? Because they got to put the fire out in your building. What they think is objectionable or concerning, and I assure you that they will not permit this. Now, that's not the Debbie Downer. That's not the Eeyore comment. I think if you do two things very quickly, you can still achieve the drama that you're after. Just turn down the volume.
Mhm.
Right? I think the floor plates are way too big. I think the apartments are way too big. I think in 1,200 square feet you can get 600 units.
Yeah.
So the footprint could contract on its sort of point of origin, right? If there's
Yep.
if there's like a 0 point in each of those cake pans that you call a floor plan, you could contract it by like 60%, 50% unit count that you need in there, Michael, and maintain the integrity of that sort of design partie. And because those floor plates won't be these big ass cake pans, right, feeding an entire hockey team, maybe it's just feeding a family of 3, right? Those floor plates won't have to cantilever out over the street.
Right.
That's the first thing. I think you need to do that quickly.
Mhm.
The second thing is I'm fairly unwilling to allow you to make such a big open space move at that northeast corner. Tail sensibilities. So I'm gonna need, and so I'm not telling you not to do what you're doing. I'm not saying that, but because I know that you in your first benchmark you had deferred to that hard corner at the ground floor to privilege it, right? You kept it open at that hard corner. I don't think I understood what the motive then was for it, but I'm seeing it play out again today. So at your review next week, I think you need to talk about why that's happening and why what you're doing is actually an improvement to the concept, right, of building on that hard corner, building retail at the hard corner. So I'm not telling you not to do it, but I'm telling you that if you're going to do it, you got to have that motive. You have to have that narrative, the hook that explains it away, right?
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Can I give a comment? Are you done, Mark?
Yeah, go. Yeah,
also,
go ahead.
Michael, you need to think on how I love these rotating masses. That was one of my favorites when I was at your age. But you have to think as well how you're going to hold this structurally. Do you have any idea how these may be constructed? Just a basic idea. What's your module here? If it's going to be steel or concrete, how are you going to hold this up? Yeah, it's just a model here, but let me share with you what I mean. Thank God I got this project. It's let me share it with you guys. It's, of course, it's hand-drawn because we didn't have this luxury. This was in 1989. This was a central library. I'm just telling you that I love the idea of the rotated grids, but as you see here, it's sort of a modular here. So things are lining up together. Yeah, this, as you see from here, it's rotating, you know, and displaced as well. So I played with this rectangle, and then I kind of rotate part of it, and then I came closer and closer and played with this reading hall, which does have natural lighting, and I did get this kind of a pen that hold all of them together, which was my stair in this case. So again, as you see, I started looking at some module here in order to solve the structure of this this shape. This is just an exterior, and as you see, yeah, the elevation looks sexy. Usually we build with concrete in this region. So I'm just giving you an example of how to think about these rotated grids. I have done it before. I love it so much, but you still have to think about how you may hold it. Right? How you're gonna build it. I'm sorry, Mark.
The loads have to transfer.
Thank you.
Resolve, right,
yes,
to the ground.
This is one of the most difficult dilemma that exists with this kind of concept. I would say, yeah, I have seen some of you have done sort of a rotated grids. I have seen Josh. I have seen Eric's. So that no problem. But to go this. Like move a complete floor and rotate it over the other, you need to think carefully on how you're going to hold this structure from lab point of view, constructability of your design. Again, I'm not telling you don't do it. It's sexy. But you have to look at the code. Chapter 32 about these cantilevers and the right-of-way, and you have to have excellent idea on how you're going to hold this structurally, because simply you're rotating the grids, nothing will match in terms of columns here. So you will see columns everywhere. This is what I'm expecting from my experience. You're going to see columns everywhere in your residential units. Which, again, leaving it like this, just a rectangle, I'm intruding into Mark's business here. Sorry.
Well, the last thing I'd say, Michael, is that given the things you showed at the first benchmark, and given the things that you didn't show, which was a concern, I want to urge you to approach this design project in the spirit of what
you cut out.
Moving towards simplicity is a hard nut to crack. It's actually really difficult. So rather than diving into something that's complicated, that will have a complicated series of decisions to resolve in a very short amount of time, which I think you're faced with, at a way to simplify this as quickly and as, I guess I'd say, not severely, but assertively, so that you can hit all of the requirements that we need you to hit. You all need to hit the tectonic requirements in this studio. I can't say it any more emphatically than that. Like in the Olympics, right? There's, you know, the ice dance, right? And there's all of the sort of free skates and all of that, whatever they call it. But there's also the compulsory skate, right? The compulsory skate is when they skate the 8, right? You got to skate the 8 in this class. You got to skate that 8 perfectly, and the blade can't leave that line. That's what we're expecting. That you're dealing with all of these complicated things as efficiently and as gracefully as possible.
My last word here for you, Michael. Again, when you put these rectangles of your residential units without looking at what's inside, again, this is where you're gonna find like weird columns coming into the space that you never imagined of. And let me share this with you again. As you see here, there's some columns here that's kind of coming out from the masses here. So there's you still have to hold this up, because this is part, as you see here, columns everywhere, because this rotated grids, yeah, they were slimmer. So I realized that after I went to practice, right? But you have to be able to again hold these rotating masses intact in a good way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks, Michael. We need to move on. I think Wu is next.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hey.
Okay. So I'm sending you a link.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I feel a little bit behind because after I met with Ash, so I changed my basement, the structure. So
could you say that once more, please? You broke up a little bit.
Okay. So
after you met with Ash.
Yes. So I changed the structure, the layout of the column at the basement, and I re-lay out the basement parking space. And I was having a hard time with the Revit. So
I'm for some reason you're breaking up an awful lot tonight.
Oh, really?
So I'm apologizing. I'm only getting like every 3 words, and your file is so large, it's still downloading right now. So okay. I'm not looking at anything just yet.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. I'm gonna deduct some points, Mark, because it's hammering my hard drive. 100.
Yeah, this is 107 meg.
115. I'm
okay,
done.
I'm not there yet.
Show in folder.
So the file is not completed. I mean, it's more like a process. So you might disappoint with some diagram, like the structure plan, things like that, because I was having a hard time with the Revit. To put the beam into the Revit. I'm not an expert, so I took a long time to find out how to do that.
Don't be sorry about it, Wu. You have done a good job. At least you thought about it. Thank you.
So for some reason, Wu, I can't.
Mark?
Yeah.
You're there?
Yes.
Okay. You.
Oh, now I am. Now I understand. Okay. So the underground level has 45 spaces, but it also has columns in the drive aisle along column 6. Is that your wrinkle? Is that the problem?
Yes, but I think there's enough space for one way to go out.
Yeah, but
there is a column, but I think the driveway space is enough. Is wide enough.
And then how
I
many?
think you could take. Sorry, Mark. I think there is on the entrance here. There is a line in between axis 5 and 6. I think you can take this line off and do some kind of a nice rotation here. I hope it works. Otherwise, you have to take another spot out on axis 5 in order to have the rotation, the circle of the car.
So for if there's a one way, there's a limit for the road driveway wide is about 15 and 5 inches. So the column to the edge of the parking is wide enough.
Yeah, I mean, column line B is not great.
Right. Yeah, that's it.
But it's not great. But I think possibly with the level of service that this garage has, which is that all of these like tenants will grow familiar with them, and they'll drive carefully, leaving and pulling into the spaces. And maybe for the 3 or 4 cars that get the spot next to that column, maybe they can be Fiats and Mini Coopers, right? Maybe they can be smart cars. So like a developer will, do things right like that in order to make that happen. The other thing is that you're going to need to create a lobby around the elevators, and that lobby is going to have walls that run along column C6
Yep.
to B.26.
Yep.
And that's right. So that's gonna interrupt your drive aisle or whatever you're thinking. I'm not sure if you're having people drive north of 6 or not. I suspect you were, because you've got cars parking along column line 8. So cars are, pulling, they're going up and down along there. So it's just something you got to work through here.
Yeah, the column B and 6 is very annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so there is I can create a lobby between the columns.
Yeah, you can. It's just that,
7.
right. It's just,
Yeah.
right.
No
You'll need to, right? But I can't believe there's no other way to skin this cat. I can't believe that you don't have a better way to.
We can move this this column line a little bit off column 6, a little bit to the north,
In this,
which will allow you. Does this go through a wall in the typical floor or so? I think so.
Yes, that column is go up to stairs, the residential unit.
Okay.
yeah, but column 6 can move north. Right now, from 6 to 7, it's 22 foot 10. It could be less than that, and so the outside wall, the south wall of the residential units, could be picked up by a cantilever. So let the structure work for you, for one thing. B6 though is ornery, right? It's a bad boy, and that may be a column rather, that you just simply have to find a transfer for. I'm also wondering, because I don't see the ground plan here.
The level 1.
Yeah, do I see it?
No, I didn't put it because I didn't change the plan. I just
But it's not in here, right?
yeah, it's not in here. I can.
But like, what if the ramp?
Mhm.
So if you think about it, you're driving between 4 and 6 along column E.
Yeah.
But you're not parking there. Every wall, every ground surface condition in the basement has to be viewed as really, really important in terms of finding like creative places to park. If you slid the ramp north, right, all the way up to about column line 6, somewhere between 5 and 6, if the ramp began there, you could have more cars along E north of 3.
Yeah, but the problem is if I move the ramp up, there's the problem on level 1.
That's
So
what I'm saying. I don't
after-
know what level 1 looks like. What is? Can you screen share level 1?
Of course.
I have an amazing memory, but I'm not that good. I just can't remember what level 1 looks like.
Okay, so the level 1 up here is the ramp, including the meter room and electrical room.
Okay, right off the bat, you want to hear my feedback?
Yeah.
Okay. Make the generator room smaller. Move the meter rooms over near the locker room. Cut the locker room in half. Right? And reduce the size of the vestibule. I just dropped the microphone.
So you said move the electrical room or meter room to the locker room?
Yeah.
But,
Reduce the locker room. You can keep that footprint. Just reduce it.
but the locker room is for 50, right?
Yeah, but you may need to find a different product. You may need to make those lockers smaller.
Can
You may need to find a more efficient layout. You may need to stack 3, not just 2, right?
Right. Can I move to the can I move to the electrical room and meter room to the basement? Because I have
Yes.
2 rooms here.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to
As long as you
separate
have-
the
As long as you have 2 means of egress from the electrical room. I like it on the ground floor. But I think for since you have a basement, that's actually not a bad place to put it.
Okay, so
I'm just saying that as good as this floor plan level 1 is, it could be stronger because the plan is inhibiting a better basement plan. That's all. Let them work together. They have to work compatibly.
is that
Meter rooms and electrical rooms are always good in the basement because those incoming utilities are usually below grade,
right?
right? So that's one reason why they happen to be there. But you also could expect them to be where you've shown them, or let them sit in the locker room,
Sure.
or grow the footprint of the locker room and slide the meter room and the electrical room to be south of the locker room. All of that first floor stuff under the residential is just, it's just kind of like, it can be what it needs to be. You could have architecture all the way down to column line 2.
Okay. Yeah.
Capiche?
I think that makes sense. I can.
You could reduce the generator room by 1/2, relocate meter and electrical room to south of the lockers, and slide the ramp north, and that may open up some ground floor space
Sure.
at the
Maybe-
basement.
Yeah, I'm thinking about moving the generator room and meter room, also the electrical room to the basement to here. And
I like the generator on the first floor. I like the generator on the first floor just because it needs to breathe, and where you've got it is a good place for that to happen. But it's a huge room.
Okay. Yeah.
The generator could go on the roof, by the way.
Could go on what?
The generator could go on the roof. There are issues with that, but they are solvable.
Yes. Yeah.
You're pretty close. You're pretty close, but there's just so. If you did a figured round of parking to drive aisle, the drive aisle is winning. You anything you don't know?
Yeah.
I think you have to park along column 1.
Oh, column 1.
Yeah, because it's all wall. It's just drive aisle. Try to make every drive aisle have parking on it. If it doesn't have parking on it, right, it's not productive.
Right. Okay. I will think about it. And so since Ash is here, he talked about the orientation of my unit. So right now, all my unit is facing to the left. He said east west. Yeah.
Yes.
So south and west, and he think it's very it's not that good. But
no, I didn't say that. I asked you. Listen.
Yes. So
listen.
right.
I asked you what is the rationale behind putting them this way. This is all what I have asked for.
Right.
I didn't say they are good or bad. I said why you put the curtain wall, for example, all the corridors on the outer perimeter, while you could benefit from the views on the. I'm sorry, I don't know the street's name. The east, probably John R. That's the east edge. Or you can have a rationale opening the residential unit on an atrium, an open a U shape or like a rectangular atrium. So you might have something very interesting goes inside this atrium. This is why you make the main orientation of your units to the atrium. So I just ask for the rationale. Tell us what's the rationale why you did what you did. That's it.
So the diagrams in the file I sent to you, and the last 2 pages is a diagram show the samples. I'm currently creating another one to answer that question. So about why I think there is so if the unit is facing to the east, there's angle there, and you only have 1/3 sunlight for a day.
You only have what?
1/3 of a day sunlight.
I see.
Okay, so I can screen share with you right now, and this is my the diagram I'm currently working on, but it's not that great. just starting. So this big long black line here is the horizon shading window line. So that is the direction of my building here, and this the second black line here is the far away sunlight the building can get in summer.
On June 20th.
Yeah, June 20th. So
Mhm.
and this one, the third line, black line here, is showing the winter, the
Mhm.
starting light. So if there is a winter here, you only can get this much sunlight. So if I am facing to the east, so that's why.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, so the diagram is still going on. So you can see the other two diagrams in your
I'm looking at them.
Yes, I'm using that as a template to use as a HVAC, but I'm not starting
Mhm.
right now, so it's a little bit.
And Wu, as I'm seeing this, I'm looking at the last drawing.
Okay.
And it's showing the orange and green ribbons, right, on that courtyard roof. That roof is sort of covering all of that first floor stuff, storage room, right, all of that stuff that we were just talking about. What happens underneath it in terms of footprints and walls and all of that is neither here nor there, right? Because you're covering it all with new program, which is the roofscape, right? So let that first floor serve you. Don't let it guide or don't let it drive the basement plan.
Sure.
And how many spaces do you get down in the basement?
Right now it's 47.
And how many on the ground?
6 or 7.
So you're close.
It's 6.
Yeah, you're close.
Yeah.
I like the distribution of beams here, Wu. At least you have an idea on how about load transfer. I really appreciate that, and thank God that I attended this presentation today. I'm gonna send you guys examples of distribution, beam distribution. You did it good, but I did not need all of these lines. You can represent it with just one thick line, and I'll post for you guys some examples to guide you through that. So, but I really appreciate what you have done so far in terms of how load transfers, and it's not perfect, but it's very, very good start.
So I kind of have more questions about how detailed we should present on the present day about the HVAC and installation thing.
What does the program brief say in italics?
It's about the real strategy. I remember.
Strategy.
Yeah.
Right? It's not asking for shop drawings, right? It's not asking for construction drawings. It's asking for a strategy, right? So a strategy is maybe a blend of graphical drawings with annotations that show an approach that is developed from the beginning to the end, right? So thinking about strategies from ground to top, and thinking about strategies horizontally on each floor. It doesn't have to be technical drawings, but it can be. It doesn't have to be just written, but I guess it could be. But we're architects and we want to look at strategies in a graphical way. If you look at the kinds of drawings that that Ash posted on Blackboard, I think you'll get a sense of how the architecture, like an axonometric of your building, an axonometric of your framing plan, or an axonometric of the building as a three-dimensional wire cage, is kind of the template to indicate ventilation, structure, enclosure, right? Woo, good grief, you've already done that. You did that at one of those, you did that with your stormwater. Those were stormwater strategies, right?
Right.
That was a strategy.
Okay.
So, you know,
Okay. Yeah. So how about the enclosure? If I do the enclosure, should I do require any rendering
Rendering.
model? Rendering model?
Again, it could be a sectional perspective, like what closer to what Lynn had done. Just sort of an idea what kind of product that you want to use, what kind of curtain wall. I see a lot, like huge curtain wall on your east elevation. So how these curtain wall would work, how you visualize them. You said, oh yeah, I want to make a curtain wall. Do you know what a curtain wall is? How it attaches to the structure? What's the enclosure on the other side, the opposite side of the curtain wall? So as Mark said, just a concept.
Yeah.
We'll look at
so these are all
gonna,
things that a section can illustrate.
Yeah, I'm not going to give up the wall section and couple details at the end. That's the law of the land here. This is why the slab is there. But again, at this, you asked about this coming benchmark. Whatever you can submit, that's fine for me, because as just Mark said, yeah, it could be you could have sizing, you could have beam, and of course that's appreciated. But also you could have just like the concept, and I see the concept there about the beams and the girders. Probably I'm gonna post for you some materials today, so please watch and check the Blackboard, okay? About the structural floor plan, how they look like. You did it the right, you know, you did too much, okay? Thank you, but it could have been, you could have saved the time and did half of this effort, and I'm gonna show you how a structural plan would look like. But your orientation is good, perfect. Column distribution, so we have probably to move only one axis or so, and work around the what Mark said here regarding the Mini Coopers and the Teslas and Toyota, whatever, Prius, something like that in these spots. And I don't see any problem with your structural system. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's not sexy yet.
Thank you.
But it's not sexy yet, but absolutely that's the right direction. I'm really proud of you.
I go to Carmen now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wu.
Thank you.
Carmen, I'm looking at your. Did you email that package to Ash?
I did. Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. So I'm looking at the basement. The basement's kind of like, you know, the come to Jesus moment, right?
What do you think?
So if you can come, so it's pretty good. So maybe space 35 doesn't work, but you know, maybe that's the Mini Cooper space, right?
Yeah. I really tried to get 44 down below just so I could get 6 above,
you could relax.
But I could always move that extra space.
Yeah.
Just above.
I also think that the run from 6 to 17 could probably slide to column 2.
Okay.
That may open up a little bit more space in the first drive aisle that you've got between 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
But it may pinch too much the drive aisle west of 2 and south in David. So if you slide that whole bar over to the column line, you got to make sure that you got enough room there. I think you will.
Currently I have 18, so if I slide it over...
Yeah, I slide it over.
Yeah, I think that will work. And I kind of separated those spaces, as you can see, just so those columns...
The other reason I want to do that, Carmen, is that the 19.5 barrier free space to 14, 15, 16, and 17. I want that to be 20 feet clear.
Okay, perfect.
Because when you got 90-degree spaces, they need a lot more room to wiggle in and wiggle out of.
Okay, I will do that. But I think I've worked on this long and hard, but I like the way that it.
No, I got more for you. I'm not done, darling. Hang on.
Right.
I only got one stairway down here. What's going on?
Correct. So at the beginning of the project, I had eliminated one stairway and just left one because it's just going to, I need both.
Yes, ma'am. You
Okay.
always need two means of egress unless the occupant load is beneath that sort of minimum number.
Okay.
So I'm going to go upstairs,
Yes.
and you've got a stairway at
Yeah,
C1.
So it's right on elevation. Yeah. So it's on C. So it's exactly where my drive-through aisle is.
Yeah.
So I could always move the downward ramp maybe a little bit off to the side and then move all the parking to the left.
Yeah, like spot 1, 2, 3 could go on the wall on
Correct.
axis 1.
Yeah.
And
You
clear up
need
some
that
stuff.
stairway there, Carmen.
Okay.
But I'm very proud of you as well, Carmen. That's not bad at all.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, you may be saying like profanities.
No.
Like, Jesus Christ, like I thought I had this fucking nailed. But I can always find something. And just one that's why they pay me the big dollars, right? So the one thing I'm seeing is the stairway doors need to swing in at this level.
Mm-hmm.
The stairway doors need to swing into the stairway on the lower level.
Okay.
They need to swing out at the ground floor, and they need to swing in at all of the upper floors. Okay?
So base.
So you need to doctor up stairway 12, stairway 19, and you need to make that happen the same way on the new stair at B1 or C1, wherever that is.
Okay.
The elevator, is the lobby the mint green space? Do the elevators open toward the east there, Carmen?
They do. So they open. Yep.
That's
to the
fine. That's
east.
all I need to hear.
Yep.
Okay, now I'm looking at the ground floor. Good grief, you got plenty of room to park on this floor plan.
Well, I wanted that open garden that I've been
Yeah,
talking about.
but
So it's a like large community
I mean-
space, but I have a ton of place to park.
the parking is breaking your back. Stop punishing yourself.
Okay.
Let the ground floor, right? Let the ground floor be what it has to be for you to solve the parking issues down below. Here's the deal. I'm saying this about your project, but like I want you all to think about this like intelligently in the sense not that you're not thinking about it that way right now, but like think about think about this. When I do strip centers like that has like a Kroger in it, right? I make some assumptions that most people that shop at the Kroger, pardon me, most people are women. Most people that shop at the grocery stores are women.
Uh-huh.
Women tend to have kids and strollers and or carry them in sort of papooses and whatnot. And they're carrying purses and bags and all the stuff that they need to bring with them to shop, and they have to make sure they bring them with them when they load up the car to go home. Most people, regardless of gender, like to park close to the store because they don't want to walk as far because they're carrying all this crap.
Mm-hmm.
I do, Carmen, is I make the spaces a little bigger, more than the ordinance requires, for the first 5 or 10 cars in each row. I might make them 10 feet wide, maybe even 11 feet wide, because it's just paint, right? And people will pull into those spaces because they want to be close, but when they pull into them, they won't notice this, but they'll go, wow, I didn't have to worry about opening the door. right? I didn't have to worry about hitting the Maserati next to me because the door opened all the way because there was plenty of room. And they will just intuit, right, that this is a good grocery store, this is a good shopping center because parking is so easy here. And they'll walk away going, I don't care if this other store's got a sale at Meijer, I'm going here because I got all this crap to deal with and I don't want to have to worry about it because it's so easy to park here. The same thing, right? I know you guys are using a lot of petroleum jelly to squeeze all this stuff in and, you know, make the things fit. But like at some point, you got to say, but like these are people that own cars and this is like a development that you want to attract people into, and you want to make sure that they have that same kind of experience. Like, gosh, I didn't hit any columns in my development, but Fred and Ethel, where they live, that parking lot's nasty, right? Because there's all these columns and the spaces are really painted too close together. So thinking about it from an end user perspective, just in terms of what would you want, right? So the ability of an architect to empathize like that is really one of the key things that separates us from maybe engineers. Not that engineers don't have empathy, but like I would hope that you would have that empathy. And so, yeah, you almost got all that you need in the basement, but think about like how can I approach it so that we make it really easy and graceful and not at the expense of like aggravation and dings and dents. That's kind of how I approach design. And so ultimately, if you got to have 3 more spaces or 4 more spaces on the ground floor, I mean, Carmen, we could have 4-bit badminton tournaments on that ground floor that you've got up there, right? I know you haven't drawn the speed ramp in there yet, but you know, it doesn't be large. You can have a really nice garden, like I showed you on the roof of the Aloha building today.
A terrace or just something small, just like a small little court.
Yeah, and maybe the garden isn't just this one thing that's at grade. Maybe it's got a little like mountain or like a
with a little
stadium seating on it that allows you to sunbathe or work on your computer while you're outside and have a picnic. Not just stuff that's on grass, not just, you know, tables and chairs, but that actually has content to it, program to it.
Okay, I think I know how I'm going to move it around. So I'll get it done before the weekend's over. The week is over, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's the goal. Right?
This will allow.
Looking at the rest.
This will allow.
So
also
the doors from the stair 08 needs to open out.
08. Are you still on the retail floor?
Which drawing are you in, Mark?
The stair at C1.
Which floor?
On the level 1, the first floor. That needs to open out.
Okay. Yep. So I'll switch the swinging out from the basement. Sorry. Swinging outside
in
on the first floor
swinging
and then
in
swinging outside
from the basement,
upstairs.
swinging in from the residence, swinging out at level 1.
Okay.
And the doors at the lobby 100 have to swing out.
Okay.
100. Yep.
Okay.
Same thing in lobby 5.
Okay. Yep.
Carmen, why you have your stair floating in this space like that?
So I have a column, if you see stair 98, and I'm so sorry that they're so small. They look bigger on my computer. I see them. But I have a column exactly where C is. That's why it's kind of floating. And I have to figure out how to do a landing space. I just don't know how.
Well, I think part of the, and you do this in stair 8 as well. Part of the reason why we do a stair a little larger at the bottom maybe is to have a door that egresses directly out. Like in stair 8, you could have a door that exits to the alley.
That's what I'm going to do. I haven't put on the exterior yet.
So so that's one advantage of doing it a little stouter, a little wider at the base, at the ground level like that.
Yeah. So trash room, I haven't drawn in, I'm currently working on the doors to the outside as well as windows.
Yeah.
But the trash room will have a door to
Yeah.
the inside and outside as well as mechanical.
Yeah.
And
I don't think I don't think the mailroom needs a door. The electrical room needs 2 doors, so you have to have a door on the alley, Carmen.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
A louver on the south wall, which is so it can breathe.
I'm sorry,
Right.
what's a louver?
The generator needs a louver on the south wall so that it can breathe.
Okay,
It's
got it.
like a window with sort of grills so that it can vent out any smoke, God forbid,
Okay.
any just ventilation. Usually
you
it's
still-
5 feet or
Yeah. And service number 7, what does that mean? Is that like management?
I was going to do either management or anything service related for that end of the room. So if like the exercise room needs some extra towels or cleaning
Yeah.
supplies, they don't have
But
to
you
go
don't think
all
of
the
it
way-
as like a leasing office.
No. So it's more storage and
Okay,
extra
I'm good.
HVAC equipment if needed in that space.
I feel like the service corridor from the Common Lounge 99 to bike storage and lobby 5 and 6, I feel like you need doors there. I think you need a door between the lobby and that service corridor.
Mhm.
And I feel like you need one at the common resident lobby so that it can get dirty, because those retailers may keep their trash bags back there.
That'd be a good
Before-
place for it, yes.
You know what I mean? That just may get like mucked up. You're not going to have all these columns on the outside. Column line 1, column line 2, column line 3. Are all those columns at the southwest corner of the building going to be outside like that? Maybe I better look upstairs. I can't
Oh
remember.
no,
No,
you're
no,
right. I
You
think
have an
people are
L-shaped.
doing-
You have an L-shaped scheme.
Yeah,
Those columns G1, F1, D1. Those. Well, maybe
So
not
those
D1.
are underground. When I was
Yeah, but you
when I
don't
was-
show them on this plan. You don't show
No,
them on this plan.
Yeah, no. I was trying to save it and I wanted to see my view from underneath. So I think that's
Yeah,
what
I know that.
I'll
But,
remove
but
those.
yeah, so you need to control your drawing that way. Now I'm looking at the residence.
Okay. So this is second and third floor. Second and third floor are the same. It's the exact same layout, exact same apartment. So there's 16 apartments on the second floor, 16 apartments on the third floor. 2 of them are 2-bedroom units, and the rest are 1-bedroom.
Carmen, unit 32, and all like her, which is 25 through 29 and so on.
Mhm.
That closet from the bedroom doesn't need a door. It
Okay.
does not need a door. Okay?
Could you repeat? You said 32?
Mhm.
Only the bathroom needs a door.
Okay, not the closet. Got it.
Unit 27 here, Carmen, the door I think needs to be reversed. Unit 27, the main entrance door, I think it needs to be reversed. You cannot open the door to a wall.
So the reason why I did that is because I have a coat closet to the right. So I thought it'd be nice to open up the door and then take off your jacket and then reach to the right. If not, you have to close the door and then open up your closet.
No.
No? Okay.
You cannot, it's a long wall. You cannot open a door on a wall like that, especially if it's an entrance door. It has to be sort of welcoming, open to a space, not to a wall. So make it like unit 31, identical to unit 31.
All right. I will get that done.
Be nice.
So here's the other thing. Let's look at Unit 31 for just a second. Ladies and gentlemen, these units are ADA units. I mean, there's A and B units, but the entry doors to all of the units need to be ADA. That is to say that the entry doors need the jam and maneuvering dimension, right, of like 12 inches on either side of that door. So the little stub wall that you have that captures the cabinets, that has to slide in Unit 31. It has to slide north about 12 inches.
Yep.
Right? And so all of the entrances into your units need to be ADA. And you want to go through all of them, Carmen, and just change that. That means the counter is going to get a little shorter, but that's what you have to do.
Okay.
Unit 28 also, Carmen, the door needs to be reversed.
Okay.
Unit 28. Mirrored, I mean, on the other side.
Yeah. Otherwise,
Unit 25.
These are nice units.
Yeah.
Open the door against the wall that allows you to open in, right? That gives you the grander sort of impression. Of
Yeah.
the space.
Unit 34, Unit 33.
Even 23. Yeah. And I think in all cases, Carmen, your kitchens can have an island.
Yes. That or a round table with chairs, or would you like for me to draw that in?
You're breaking up again. What are you asking?
Should I draw that into the plan, or is it more symbolical?
What was that question again?
Should I draw the island or the table with chairs in the plan?
I would just draw an island and put some bar stools opposite that or against it. So, because that's the dining room scenario. If somebody wants to sit down at a table, they can bring it.
Okay.
Once you start thinking about your enclosure, Carmen, you will have another feeling of your columns here versus the walls, because in this case, probably the walls will be outside of these columns. If I imagine this right. So again, that's later, but when you start thinking about your enclosure, you have to think about the relationship between these walls and the columns as well. Whether it's going to be like that, it will be changed.
Okay. Yeah, I'm starting to think about
I think unit 27 as well. After you reverse the door, you have to consider that you're gonna enclose this column somehow. So you take this 12 inches from the face of the enclosure of the column, which will mean that you're gonna probably go like 2 feet north or so.
Okay. I try to get those columns exactly to line up with the wall. So I did move around some of my dimensions within the floor plans just to hide those columns within the walls. But now I have to really enclose them.
You can talk, well, there is no sin for having these kind of moving around. Don't worry about this. We can, solve it together. But care about the corridor columns, okay, more than the enclosure column for now.
So this needs to be resolved for our Tuesday within the enclosure for Tuesday.
Well, again, just have an idea whether you're gonna have your enclosure interrupting the column. Simply, why I'm saying that is, let me screen share here, just a second. Here is Mark. Okay, so if there will be columns here, beams here, Carmen. Okay, so usually the enclosure is attaching to, so there will be exactly a beam here as wooded in her floor plan. So you have to think about, you know, if there is a beam here, this beam will be tucked into the column here. I'm sorry, this guy is just blocking the zoom. So this beam goes into the column for the shear connections or the moment connection or whatever. So putting your enclosure under the wall, the beam, is kind of problematic.
I see what you're saying. Okay, so the enclosure needs to go over.
So yeah, so probably your enclosure will be outside the column line. However, you can tuck in the column line to the inside a little bit to control the areas or the spaces or whatever. So this will appear probably at the very end when you solve the parking as well, moving these column probably to inside a little bit, whatever. Again, it doesn't, it's very tricky to have your wall under the beam. It's not going to work. Why? Because
yeah, so Carmen, I'm just going to talk about one wall along column line D and another wall along column line 4. These are the L-shaped outside walls, the south wall and the west wall, okay?
Yes.
A solid wall for those units on D and 4, right? What Ash is saying, because he doesn't know what that exterior wall is yet, is that column line D should actually move north by about the depth of that column, like 1.5 feet or a foot.
Okay.
Column line 4 should move east, that same kind of dimension, so that the exterior wall, Carmen, can you see me in my picture?
Yes.
Like this in section, and the floor and the columns and the beams that are holding it up is independent of it. What you're drawing is this. You want to draw this. You want the floor to die into that outside wall. So similarly, column line 6 should slide west. Column line B is in Brian. And A, as in Adam, should slide south. Column line G should move north. So that the grid contracts all the way around, right? By like the thickness of that wall, so the column can run vertically free and clear to let shear connections, moments, and beams holding up the floor to not kiss the outside wall. That's what we're saying, right? They want to be independent of it. All of you, it's not just talking to you, right? We're talking about like all of you all, right? So you have to understand that the grid has to be a pliable, malleable, adjustable thing.
Thank you, Mark. This is very, very important when you think about your enclosure.
That's the thing you need to fix.
Thank you. Very, very important.
You know, when I look at E5, Edward 5, for right now, we can, you and I at another critique can talk about strategies of boxing the column, the big ass column at E5.
Yeah.
Another way. But I think if you don't fix your floor plan, you guys, to show what we're talking about, it's showing a misunderstanding of framing as it relates to the enclosure.
Completely.
We don't want you to show that.
One more thing, also, Mark,
that you understand it.
Your enclosure, Carmen, attached here. You know what I'm saying? Attached to these beams. We use these beams with the ties, like 45 degrees ties or whatever, to hold part of your enclosure. Okay, so it has to be outside of these beams. Okay.
Yeah, when you and I were talking, I think I just misunderstood where we said keep it within the walls. So in my mind,
this is the internal column. This is the internal columns that Mark is talking about on 5. Okay, and what is this one here? 5 and C.
Oh, C.
Yep, 5 and C. Yep. But I'm very
Carmen,
proud of you.
these are
I'm
good
very,
units.
very proud of you.
It's a good unit.
What's the size here? What's the size of your column? I'm sorry, very quick.
Oh, I'd have to look it up.
Oh,
I have it here.
H16 or 18?
It was 20 by 20, so they were W18 by 36.
No, I'm talking about the columns. Columns highly preferable to be squares
Where?
because of the lateral.
Beams for walls, 18 by 18.
No, I'm talking about the columns here. The column size, is it H beam 16, 18, 20, which means 16 by 16, 20, 18 by 18, 20 by 20?
Let me tell you what it is.
I see it here as sort of a square here, so I can. I'm not sure when I close.
They're 18 by 18.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Absolutely fine. I'm screen sharing here. Did you see this column here?
Right on.
Think about it, right in the top. Okay, so
yeah, you have to redo that
move
bathroom, right? So Carmen, in that case, you know, you have to sacrifice some repetition and duplication, and start the bedroom wall at the top of that flange. So that whole bathroom slides north.
Okay.
Right? Okay. That's a good.
Here's another thing. Here's another thing. Mirror that bathroom so that the wet wall is not on an apartment demising wall, right? Put the wet wall on an interior wall that's in your unit, because when you start hanging plumbing fixtures and run supply and waste lines serving water closets and tubs and toilets along a fire rated partition between two residences, then you gotta like caulk the hell out of that with intumescent silicone and sealants, and you're breaching the wall. So
gap fillers.
I don't like doing that between units. So wherever you can, you guys try to put the wet walls, the supply and waste walls of bathrooms and kitchens on interior walls. I'm not saying you have to do this for Tuesday night.
Okay.
This is a lesson, right? You're paying top dollar for all of this intel, right?
No,
so
really
I'm giving you stuff that you can go when you sit down at your next job and you start doing these things, and your supervisor says, "Oh, well, just put the bathroom like this," and you say, "Well, wait a minute. Then we breached the fire rated wall, and I don't want to jack the cost up." So you're like ahead of the game. This is the stuff that you got to remember, right? This is the stuff that you're getting like at a really good price right now.
Okay. All right. So
thank you, Carmen.
Thank you. So within, just so I get to the structural part. So with plan.
Oh, you have more?
Page 5 and page 6. So 5 is the loft units. 5 is floor number 4. So page number 5 is floor number 4.
Yep.
And it shows the stairs with the loft unit above.
Yep, I got it.
Page
I want one of those.
Is the 5th floor with the green roof, the community center, and then just above, it's more of an office space. You can put a nice desk, some shelving units, some good bookcases, another setup.
Could be exercise room, could be a guest bedroom. Yep.
And they have really nice windows and access to the balcony, which I'm currently working on. So that's the idea with 3 to 6, and then all the way down the east wall. And then page number 7. So I don't know if we should review this now, or Ash, I wrote you an email saying that if we could meet on Thursday, if possible.
I don't know the time now, Carmen, but can you make it Wednesday, or that's not possible? 1 to 4, 1 to 5, something like that?
I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow, so I can't make tomorrow.
Okay. So then, yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Around 4:15.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So
On
I'm looking
Thursday?
at 11. Just can you help me on page 11?
Yeah, so
The-
that was one of I'm having
So-
a hard time with the section and my cantilever. and
that's-
I don't know how my
Thank you, Mark. That's not correct.
No, I know.
That
I
is
wanted to
not
tell you
correct.
what I have, but I'm
Um,
not sure.
you cannot
the
have
balcony.
a steel joist
So
underneath.
is your building a composite deck of concrete in a metal decking supported on steel beams?
Yes, and a joist.
Okay, so the slab and the metal deck are together probably like, 5.5 inches thick.
Hmm.
So that's your finished floor. And then it sits on beams, or I guess they're beams.
So I have
It's
my
not
joist.
joists. Are they joists?
The bottom.
So I'd like you to work through that with Ash, because if it's beams, which is fine, they're probably not that frequent, right? They're probably spaced further apart. But if it's joists, then which is like a traditional sort of commercial or office structural approach, then they're probably like 6 feet apart.
I do that's why I want to meet. So
Yeah,
structural.
so you need to work through that. But
Yeah.
I also am looking at this. I just want to make sure I understand that the zig and zag that's happening is not the joist, because Carmen, it looks like you've got concrete, 3, 4, 5 beams running in and out of the page. Then you've got joists under it. And I want to make sure that what you're showing with that diagonal and the line below the diagonal, the ziggy zaggy,
Yeah.
I'm wanting that to be like a suspended ceiling. The aluminum.
I just didn't know
Sheet
how to
metal
represent
ties?
it,
Yeah,
and that's
like a
why
canvas.
I'll show you what
Hanging
I have.
from
Yeah. So
From the beam.
if that's the line work holding up the ceiling, you only need like one of those, and it just is a vertical line.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even draw that line. It would be a really light line. But I think you need to look at technical drawings that illustrate this strategy and emulate that.
Okay.
Now, the final thing on this problem, this page is a kind of a problem for me, and it's the balcony flapping in the breeze.
No, so
Right,
I
'cause
know
you-
how to pull the cantilever.
But what's cantilevering?
The balcony is going to be a.
But what? How does that happen? Because the floor
I
deck
don't know.
and the beams, right? So I think that the balcony actually has to be hung.
Okay.
The only way you can cantilever a balcony in a building like this with concrete is if the floor slab and the balcony are integral, and that usually happens when you are doing a poured in place concrete frame,
Mhm.
or you're doing poured in place / post tensioned concrete, right? Because then the formwork forms all of the floor, the columns, and the balconies as one integral pour.
monolithic. We call it monolithic in
A
the
monolith,
language.
thank you, because I'm not as smart. Right? But steel doesn't work in this beast to be the balcony, but steel or aluminum, for instance, will be kind of like basket hung. It'll have diagonal bracing tied back to the vertical wall, and then the floor of the balcony will be aluminum, maybe with perforated metal. And that has an impact on your structure. I'm sorry, on your elevations, on your building design.
Yes.
So, these are the things, you guys, that when you're, well, I don't know nothing about post-tension concrete, so I'm going to do what I know, which is composite slab on steel deck joist or on steel beams, because that's what I've seen in the stores and that's what I've seen in the office buildings I've designed. But you have to think this through. You have to make these choices very carefully because balconies impact that choice, right? Can you do a different kind of balcony, like a Juliet balcony? Sure. And that's why you see Juliet balconies. And it's not just a structural steel deck like you've got, Carmen, that's wrinkling this dress. It would be the same case for wood. If you did pre-engineered wood joists or pre-engineered wood trusses as your floor deck, you wouldn't be able to cantilever those either.
Sure.
So similar basket hung balcony on a wood deck building too.
It will impact.
That's my lesson for tonight.
Will impact your elevations.
That's my point, right? So got to think that through with Ash, okay?
Yeah. Ash, can we discuss
But graphically, this doesn't look right. Graphically,
No, I
this
didn't
is not
tell
enough
you, but
concrete.
I just wanted to quote what I had, which is not
Indication of the metal deck.
correct.
Way too many beams or way too many joists, and
Yeah.
graphically, the ceiling is just a single horizontal line. And maybe it looks like you just froze. Maybe Carmen, show the line of the ceiling going, across, up, and then across again to show varying ceiling heights, so that we see that it's a ceiling line.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'll get that done.
Yes, ma'am.
So Ash.
Thanks, Carmen.
Thursday at
I
4.
have a lot of other comments, but we don't have time, okay, on the drawing itself. So let's meet Thursday, okay?
What did we say? 4:15?
Yeah, 4. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I will be there at 4. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now I'm going to Paige. And Paige, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Fine, thanks. Did you share your stuff with Ash too, please?
Yes, I did.
Let me see.
I sent it in an email.
Okay.
Paige is north to the right.
Yes.
Page is here, okay.
Is north to the right?
Yeah, north is to the right.
Okay, so Paige, I am going to blow a gasket on Tuesday if
Okay.
north is to the right.
Okay.
You know what I mean by that? Blow a gasket? Has your mom
Yeah.
or dad ever blown a gasket?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I probably with like a brother or a sister, never with you. So north, Paige, has to be up.
Okay.
Do you follow that? Can you give me a thumbs
Yeah.
up that you comprehend that? Because I really, you can't break this rule.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. It makes it difficult for me to follow up. I'm tilting my
Yeah.
to look at the structure here in the module, which is
Okay,
which
so, but
looks
thank
sexy
you
as
for
well.
drawing the property, thank you for drawing the curbs and the foundation walls. Thank you for numbering the spaces. Thanks for drawing the alley and the speed ramp. High marks for me for all of that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So we don't have column lines. So there's a couple of,
Oh, I might have accidentally had those hidden, but they should be probably on the 3rd or 4th floor. Should be some column lines.
I can't keep going back and forth. So Paige, okay, so 31 through 34 and 20 through 28 through 30, like those spaces are like this right now. Can you see me?
Yeah.
So those spaces are like this. Get them real close.
Okay.
Take them up to the column line, right?
Uh-huh.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, which spaces?
Move the paint. 31 through 34, 28 through 30. They're like this. They're like,
Yeah.
they're too far apart. Get them closer to the columns.
Okay.
and preserve 20 feet between them. Same thing with 22 through 24. Same thing with 14 through 21. Just slide that whole row page south.
Okay.
Same thing with 10 and 13. Because those columns, which that column line, I'm going to go upstairs, FF. Perfect, FF. That FF is a mother.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to back into that. If I'm parking in 15 or 14, like that column.
Yeah.
Right? So move the spaces so that they capture the column at FF and those other conditions. And then in front of the spaces, make that storage.
Okay.
Capiche?
Yep, that sounds good.
Okay. Because you're kind of doing that, right? In
Yeah.
the 35 through 50 run. And you're kind of doing that. Why are these numbers upside down? 37 through 51. You're killing me with these graphics.
Sorry.
You gotta make, right? You gotta make the numbers all be the same orientation. So when you rotate the plan to north, put all the numbers so that the bottom of the number is up and down. Don't make us turn our heads. I'll pull a muscle in my neck if I do that. Okay. And
Yep.
I'll do what? I'll blow a gasket. Page, the elevators need a lobby.
Okay. In the basement?
Can the elevators, in the basement, can the elevators, like at FFA5, can that elevator slide north to help you with to make that lobby downstairs? Just a couple of feet. You need like a 6-foot lobby out there because that elevator is going to be sitting in the drive aisle, or maybe downstairs, Paige. That mechanical electrical room gets a little bit smaller, and the elevator opens to the north.
Okay.
Create a corridor back there, like a little glass lobby. Same thing at mechanical 70. Oh, you know how you solve that? Do you need all these spaces downstairs?
Kinda.
No, you got 10 spaces on the floor.
I don't have 50 spaces downstairs. I started numbering at.
You only need 50. You only need 50 in the development.
Yeah, I have 51.
No,
Total.
you have 51 plus 9?
No,
or
I
do
started.
you count?
I started numbering at 10.
You begin counting on grade.
Yeah.
Yeah, do it the other way.
Okay.
So it doesn't. The column at the elevator at A2DD, it needs a lobby. And I'm thinking, would
I be able to?
thinking that 27, I think you have to do a lobby around the stair and the elevator and the mechanical room. You just create kind of a capture that runs that full length. And maybe it's like 6 feet in depth. And you might have to move 25 and 26.
Okay.
I bet you can get another space next to 34. What's the gap between
You froze on me.
And the column line to the north, can't that get narrower there, that big drive aisle? Can't you put a car next to 50? Can't you put a car next to 51?
I don't know if I can. It's about a 20-foot distance.
The elevator door and the stair door to car 51
Yeah.
is 20 feet?
Yeah. Maybe like 21, 22.
Paige, every inch counts in these buildings. You can't be that casual.
Okay.
You gotta like look at, because then what's the difference, the distance between 42 and 43?
That's 20.
Yeah, so that doesn't look, no, something's not right. You can put a car next to 50 and 51.
Okay.
I'm telling you. If the distance between 40 and 41, between 50 and 51 is 20 feet, you can put another car next to 50 and 51.
Okay.
And that would allow you to lose 26 and 25 and move them to those spaces that I just gave you. Do a capture around the stairway and the elevator near a mechanical 70, and then maybe slide space 27 next to 34. And I think you're golden.
Okay, I can do that.
Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. What's your structural deck here?
So my structure is all steel, but it's hollow core precast concrete planks on a steel frame.
Oh, good. That's a good one.
Yeah, it just seemed like the best fit for what
I agree with you. I agree with you. You get the sound transmission. You get fire resistivity. You get speed of construction, speed of erection. You get some issues with camber and issues of direction with the planks.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't necessarily easily do planks running like this way, right? Like in my fingers, and then running them this way.
Yeah.
Because the cambers are going in different directions. So you have to resolve that with a thicker topping, like a 3-inch, maybe 4-inch topping. But in a small building like this, that might be easy.
Your section page does not reflect what you're talking about, because I see it here as a concrete.
That section isn't up to date right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you have a curtain wall here, but I don't know why you put it on a.
Okay, I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm still
on a
backup,
framed backup, whatever, with exterior gypsum sheathing. I just want you to understand what you have written here, not just like something that you got from construction systems. So it's more to me of understanding than just getting a lot of text, because I'm gonna ask you about every single annotation. If you write this heavy, that's fine, thank you, but I wish that you understand what you're writing and your system works together. So currently I'm not, that's page 10. You said a curtain wall, and then you put again a frame backup. You don't need a backup of a steel studs for a curtain wall, because simply you have a mullion that would take care of that. So the section needs a revisit here to show me these hollow core blanks, how the steel beams will be articulated to hold this system. Okay, so I need to see the hollow core, where it goes. If it goes parallel to this, I would see some sort of a dashed line to indicate the circles inside. If it's perpendicular, I need to see the full circles, and how probably how wide is your pre-cast concrete planks.
I haven't chosen a width yet, but right now I have, for my floor designation, I have a foot for everything.
A foot for what? I'm sorry.
The thickness of the concrete?
Yeah.
Thickness of the concrete, a foot.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah, it's a little heavy.
a little heavy. Yeah.
I bet you could do it in 8 inches with like a 3-inch topping. So yeah, probably 11 inches,
Okay.
maybe 10.
Yeah.
This is not a big building,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no shortage of columns.
What's your span? Yeah, she did distribute her her module very nicely, actually.
So Paige, I'm looking at the first floor. I feel like there's some things that are really kind of wonky here. The mail room is really big.
Okay, I wasn't sure how large to make that.
You know where the wall zigs and zags by the toilet room there? The mail room only has to be that big. So,
Okay.
and you need an airlock, and that's usually like 7 feet deep, right? When you look at the code for 2 doors in succession like that, you need 7 feet or 84 inches between the doors. So you need an airlock there. It actually looks small. And I'm thinking maybe the mail room goes up near the laundry room, and the laundry is the thing on display, because laundry is kind of a place to meet people and socialize, and you know, maybe that's what you look at. The lobby overall is enormous, and maybe the garden wall for that lobby is like moved closer to the stairway, so it's more of a corridor. The retail is a hard space the way you've got it laid out. All 3 retail spaces are hard, because the one is 57 is an L, and that's going to be hard to serve or merchandise. 56 is awesome. 55 is also hard because it's got that stair cutting right through it. But ultimately, I think they're okay. You got 2 laundry rooms. I don't understand that.
I had extra space.
You got an exercise room that opens into the other lobby. You have 2 lobbies, by the way.
Yeah.
And then a break room. I don't know who that's serving, but it's only open to the outside. So that's weird. It probably needs to like connect to a corridor. The locker room needs to open to a corridor, I think. So the ground floor circulation, a lot of it's like outdoors, or a lot of it's lobby, and you have two of those. So I feel like you could reduce the footprint of the ground floor and tighten it up.
Okay.
And like in Carmen's, you're showing columns on the ground floor plan. They're probably not on that level, correct? Some of them are, but not the ones in the garden, not the ones in the parking spaces.
With the column.
Oh, by the way, yeah, they're not going to be there.
I had, because I didn't know if I needed those there because the upper floor hangs over.
Well, okay, there's going to be column lines on A5. Okay, now I get it. Yeah, so you're right.
Okay.
You're right. I stand corrected. Paige, you can get a space. You can get 2 or 3 spaces. Make sure those parking spaces are 20 feet apart. Looks like they're 30. You can get where you got that big ass tree, that oak tree.
Mm-hmm.
This is there. 2 more spaces.
Okay.
Capiche?
Yeah.
What language is that, Mark? I'm sorry.
It's Architectese.
Capiche? Okay. This is like decor in French.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what unit do you want me to look at? The one near the Alfred logo or label? Like maybe A3, A2? Is that a typical unit?
Yeah, the one, like any of the like more square type units are the typical because.
Because they're replicated. Yeah.
Yeah.
So your living room is kind of inboard, and the kitchen and dining is outboard.
Yeah.
Right? In that typical unit.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting, but not in every case.
Now every room is kind of different because I adapted all the
So
rooms around the
Paige,
structure.
Paige, maybe can I make a suggestion for that unit because it doesn't happen that often?
Yeah.
Move the bedroom wall. There's a walk-in closet there in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And what's that next to the walk-in closet? Is that a dresser?
Yeah, yeah.
Can you put the door there? Get rid of, launch the dresser. Send that to Mars. Put the door where the dresser is, and then the wall that has the door in it is the wall where the TV goes, and you do a sitting area where the table and chairs is. First of all, no one's going to have an 8-foot table with 8 chairs in it in these units. No one's that popular. Put an island in the kitchen, or do the peninsula with stools on it. That's where people will eat, Paige.
Okay.
And then that little room where you've got the TV, right? Maybe that's like a little flex room, like a tiny little 6x8 office, exercise room, guest bedroom.
Okay.
That's a nice little unit. Okay, now I'm looking at A7. CC A7. That's a long, narrow unit. That's a 2-bedroom.
Yeah.
1 bedroom is off of the entrance, and it has a hall bath. The other bedroom has a balcony, and it's off the kitchen. That's interesting. Paige, if it helps, make the hall closet only 2 feet deep. That room, slide the bath to the north, and that will make the bedroom larger.
Okay.
And move the bedroom furniture, the nightstand and the beds away from the closet doors because you can't get in them, and get rid of the dresser. Like I was saying today, you guys could be proposing that the under the bed is storage for clothing.
Okay.
This is page 5, right, Mark?
I'm looking at page 3.
Oh, okay. 3.
And wow, look at A5 to A6 at CC. Very interesting unit.
Yeah, that's the one I had the most trouble with trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's not bad. It's kind of wonky to have a bedroom on the outside wall, which is the best bedroom, but you got to walk the furthest for the bathroom. Could the bathroom be in the middle? Could the bathroom be kind of a Jack and Jill?
It could, yeah.
Could you just slide it, right? So that bedroom on the south wall actually is closer to the bathroom and ends up being the nicer bedroom.
Yeah, I can do that.
It's a quirky little unit that it actually could work. Okay. I don't want to spend too much time on that. I want to make sure, Paige, that last week when I talked about more units on the top floor plan to connect those stair towers.
Yep.
That worked.
Yeah, it worked out fine. It should be on there, but I don't think I populated all of them yet.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it hit you.
Yep. And then I have the hall connecting all of them.
That's on plate 6, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And do you have any elevations? Oh, I see it.
I don't have any elevations. I had some printed, but I didn't send them to you.
It's page 7, right?
Okay, so I'll let Ash take over. But I just want to say how not panicked last week, but I was very sort of very much kind of the mind that you had a lot to do between last week and next week, right?
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure that you were going to be able to pull it all together. So that kind of like agitation was probably in my voice. But I feel like if you continue, Paige, at the pace that you've applied to bring us to where you are today for another week, I think you're going to be able to do it. But you got a lot of like irritating little like graphic thingies like column lines and like solving some of the parking levels and making sure that there's north arrows and that everything is like according to the rules of the game. But I think you're going to be able to do it. So I really want to kind of like encourage you to keep pressure on yourself and on this project to pull that together, because I think it could be very interesting.
Okay.
And I'm around this weekend if you need to like check in and let me see where you are. All right.
Sounds good.
I'd love to see Paige. This is probably why I joined today, is because of you, Michael, and Courtney. I haven't seen you around, or you guys didn't make any appointments or send me an email regarding the structural system or the module and how it's going to affect your design. So, but I can see now you're kind of on track here. I'm happy, although please put the north up so that I can follow up with the entrances, alleys, and so please do so. The second thing is I'd like you also to start like Carmen, putting the real column size, which is again around 16 by 16 or H-beam 16 inches at least.
Well, what I was going off of was what Mark recommended I look at was the Connex Tech. And
The
when I was
what?
looking at the Connex Tech, it's like it's for faster design, higher design, and stronger design. It's like a company. And when I was looking at it, I chose their Connex L300 system.
Can you send me a brochure for that? If you have the
you want, I can send you a link right now.
Sure. So this is what steel construction, concrete.
Yeah.
What?
It's steel construction.
Okay.
So
is this the Connex Tech? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the column size that they recommended for the system that I chose was a 12-inch HSX or HSS.
HSS.
Yeah.
Does this work this high, Mark? Are they gonna fill it with concrete or?
No, I don't know exactly. I don't think they fill it with concrete. It's a kind of it's an innovative system. We're exploring it right now for like a 70 foot tall building. It can go up to about 100 feet, but it's super agile, super flexible, and super fast. Take a look at this website and look at the video on it. It's
sure. I'll look it up, but we usually have some sort of problems connecting the HSS with the steel beams if it's more than two floors. But absolutely, I can look at it. That's absolutely fine. So
great.
For the mechanical systems, wow, that's nice. At least you have sort of a zoning here. However, try to run your ducts through the corridors page So I agree 100% with what you have done here, return versus supply. So you have a sense of how these ducts will go, but actually it doesn't go all this deep into the residential unit. My suggestion could be, I don't know, you kind of buried the vertical shaft behind the elevator, which prevents you from, getting the ducts to the corridor and start from there distributing to the residential units. But
Yeah.
I highly appreciate the trial here. I'm not saying it doesn't work. It could work, but we highly prefer to run the ducts through the corridors. So if any maintenance happens, it happens outside of your units.
Okay.
But I agree 100% with your concept, with the concept of having a duct, the supply and return here. That's well thought of at this point, but it doesn't go this deep into the units.
Yeah, still, I wasn't sure with the which all the ducts because that's the thing I have least experience with.
You can have 2 zones in this. In this, 3 is okay, but 2 zone will work too for this kind of floor plan. The one short L join these 2 zones together. Which one? So this is north and west. Okay, and then your south one, the longer U, would go for a different zone. That's fine too. It's not a big of a deal. This building is not a big of a deal in terms of zoning. And as I mentioned before, you can go with orientation, you can go with use, but that's residential, so you have 1 use here. So probably go with orientation. You could do the 3 zones. I have no problem with that. That's well thought of.
Okay.
West, which has some heat gain, a lot of heat gain, especially in the afternoon. North, that's probably less load, and south, which is the bigger segment of your U shape here. The wall sections need a lot of work. Okay.
Yeah.
You need to show me how the structure attached to the skin, not just samples that you have done, which is nice. Whom did you take CS2 with?
Eric Ward.
Okay. So I need not only sexy text, and you have to show some understanding of this as well. Okay. So that's my point here.
Okay.
You need to reflect on what you have just said, the HSS with a steel beams and hollow core planks. So I'm gonna look at the website, absolutely, but you're on track. I was very worried about you, but you're doing okay so far.
Okay, and did you say you were available on when or
I'm available tomorrow from 1 to 4, 1 to 4, 4:35-ish, and on Thursday. So Carmen coming at 4. We can spend some time after Carmen. I'm not gonna spend an hour plus with her. That's for sure.
Okay.
Like last time, I'll give you some priority here because I haven't seen you since you guys started, so we can meet on Thursday or tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm very flexible. If you have any time tomorrow, I would go with tomorrow. If you have time, from 1 to 4:30 or so, I'm kind of open. Except I think Courtney has 1 o'clock probably. So We can go after
Okay.
1:30 or so, or after 1:45. I'm open all the way till 5 o'clock.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. I'll email you if I decide to come tomorrow.
Okay, or Thursday. That's fine too.
Yeah, Thursday would probably be for sure. I'd probably come after Carmen.
What's that?
I could definitely come Thursday, but if I get free time tomorrow, I'll email you because I'd rather
That's a good deal.
tomorrow than
Okay.
Thursday.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Paige. So, Courtney, I know you wanted to visit for a second, but I also think you probably wanted to sort of visit later this week or perhaps this weekend. So I'm amenable to that.
Yeah, I mean, I meant to show you stuff tonight, you and Ash. More time to try to get my drawings onto the computer to show you tonight than it would be to just wait.
Okay. So here's what I would suggest.
Yeah.
Let's meet on Saturday. Maybe late morning, if
Yeah,
that would be okay.
Yeah.
That would be like 11:30. And then I would also suggest that since you're on campus as well as Ash, that you maybe try to tackle him for some face-to-face time, right? And visit with him before you meet with me, since that should be easier for you to do. And meeting with him on Saturday is probably not in the cards. So that's the suggestion I would make.
No, supposed to meet with Ash tomorrow, 1 to 2.
Oh, so you're ahead of me. Brilliant. Okay, good.
He keeps trying to offer up my 1 o'clock spot, and I'm getting, I don't know.
You're getting bumped?
You better not bump me.
That would never happen if I was a full-time faculty member, Courtney. I just want you to know that. I'm just an adjunct. Did you have anything you wanted to go over? Do you have any issues that you need to resolve now?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm okay.
So, all right. Keep flying. Take a look at my note again and to you and try to be productive between now and Saturday, okay?
Yes.
Cool.
Working on it.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Okay.
So, Ash, I think we're done for the evening. Do you have anything else that you want to add?
No, just again go with. I think Paige had done a good job so far with the. At least she tackled the HVAC, which nobody has tackled.
Right.
She provided the vertical shaft. She has a good, concept, imagination how her ducts will go. So I'm very happy with that, although it wasn't perfect. So I hope everybody start picking up on the 3 fronts. In the meantime, I'm going to post some stuff for you. I think I did. Let me check very quick here because I'm just gonna go to the website, the course website on the Blackboard. So I think I put some examples for, or probably it's in another. Let me see, comprehensive course documents. No, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to, okay, that's in my BIM for Building Systems class. I'm just gonna take copy and paste it into both sections. Structural plan examples, okay, copy this section. So if you guys on the Blackboard, you might see this under course documents and then submit. And there are some examples here of structural plan, how it looked like. It's just simply more simpler than what you have imagined. I thought I put I put some, but I discovered not. So now it's on your blackboard, some structure plan examples and how it relates to architectural floor plan. This is a simpler way than what Wu had done or what Carmen. So this is simply how this, if you open any of them, the structure floor plan or roof floor plan, this is how simple it goes. If you need more Revit tutorials, you can go to, you guys know that we have lynda.com access, LYNDA access. You can go to the website and sign with your, click sign with your organization portal. I have a document. I think it's the same on the same. Just a second here. How you sign with Lynda. Yeah, that's in the syllabus probably, or the assignments. Just a sec. Okay. Okay. Here we go. I'm gonna copy this. Okay. Into both sections online. Here is it under course documents, and then submit. And I'm going to post it on the other section, copy, and that's the other section of Com Design under course documents. Of course, you're gonna find it all the way down. Anything that's copied, they put it at the tail, at the bottom. So they are posted now. These are tutorials for Lynda, how to access lynda.com with your username and password of LTU. Okay, like mine is Aragheb, ARAGHEB, and I put my password. Once you sign with your portal, it will take you into, I think, LTU sign-in page. You enter your unique name or username and password, and you can access Lynda for free for Revit tutorials for structural systems, how to draw structural module. However, if you can do it this way that I posted these examples, that's the easy way. You don't have to do these dashed lines, and it's just one thick line connecting the column together, indicating the beam. You put some, if you have repetition for your joists or W sections, that's let me get to it here. Let's open this course documents. If I'm opening one of these structure floor plan, so you can do, oh, not this one, the other one, or this one is not bad either. It's project 2. Probably I'll go with project 1, typical structural plan. That's how she does HSS here, but that's the that's 2 floors. So I don't have any problem having hollow structural steel in 2 floors. She used here 12 by 12, which is very suitable for 2 floors or 3 floors. I'm not sure with 5 and 6. Probably again, I'm gonna access this website, and this is how Lauren sort of articulated the beams around her elevator, and annotating the columns. Very, very nice drawings. And there's a roof plan as well for this one. Let's close it here, shut it. Roof structural plan, project 1. That's how the joists are distributed. She just showed some, how to drain the rain through a column inside the building. So don't worry about this that much. I just need you to look at how the load are distributed here. What is the technique to draw such drawings? Okay, she did have some cross bracing here between the joists as well. These dashed lines that come parallel to the alphabetical like A, B, C, D. It comes parallel to these vertical axes. So this is how simple you draw a structural plan. It doesn't have to be all these dashed lines that Carmen or Wu did. Just another way. That's the law of the land. Some people Some people do it this way in Revit, the way you did it, but this is way simpler, way easy to be read by the contractor. Okay. Everybody got it? Had a chance to look at it? It's on the Blackboard under course document for both sections now.
Hey Ash, Nancy had a problem that maybe you can read her chat note to you. She can't open the building enclosure file or the metal enclosure file.
Who's that? I'm sorry, Mark.
Nancy.
Nancy?
Nancy. Yeah, she wrote to you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nancy. I was looking. Oh, you have problem with your microphone? Or can you?
No, she can't open the enclosure.
I just turned it off so I could hear you. I can't open the building enclosure nor the metal enclosure system file. I don't know if it's just me or anyone else has the same problem, but since you posted it, I forgot.
What I posted is new things.
No, I know, but since last time when you posted it, I couldn't open it. I just forgot to ask for it.
Okay, I'll
by email.
Building enclosure. That's which one, Nancy? Metal enclosure system. There is metal enclosure systems, building enclosure, double skin facade. Which one?
Both of them. I couldn't open them.
Oh. No, it opens fine on my computer now. Yeah, the double skin is working. And the metal wall, let me see here, it's 11 mega. I think it is working. Let me check the other section. Yeah, it works fine here. Which CRN number is that? 2950. Are you in this CRN number or the other one? 2950. Let's see the other one. Course documents. Metal enclosure. Sec here. It's opening. Yeah, it opens fine, Nancy. I just checked both sections. That's metal enclosure and let me see double skin here. No, it opens fine. Both open.
Then maybe it's just my computer. I'll try it on my laptop.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anyone else have any issues or questions for Ash or for yours truly?
Yeah, so now we have the structure examples of the structure plan, how they are drawn. It's not. It's apart from the new vocab that I made about Egyptian dictators at the very beginning, but I'm trying to imitate Mark here, but I can't. I think I have a limited capacity here with my vocab.
I'm not a good reference.
But listen, I love what Carmen did, what Wu did. Usually we go with W sections at around, if you have a concrete deck, we go around 4 feet apart. Okay, if you have a concrete deck. So this is the average plus or minus, and same with joist on the roof. Why? Because roof usually doesn't have too much weight, so we go cheaper. So what Carmen did, in terms of joist, the joist could go on her last floor before the roof. That's fine if you go W sections all the way. I have no problem if you have a green roof, if you have some heavy stuff, if this roof is heavily accessible, which I doubt because of the code and the egress. So you can go, again, W sections like the typical floor that I posted in between your beams, the fillers, I call it the fillers inside, or you can do a joist for the roof. You can do joists still, as Mark said to Carmen, you can replace these W sections, Carmen or Wu, with open web steel joists, but be careful, you have to space it very narrow. I would go probably 3 feet or so, 3.36, okay? Why? Because the weight is high. So it really depends. You still can use joists, open web steel joists, as fillers in between your beams so that your decking is spaced properly. This decking, especially if you fill it with concrete, if you are building with steel and steel decking and concrete topping, you still can use the joist, but please narrow them to 3.36 if you decide to go with joists. It's easier. It's way cheaper than the W sections. W sections are the Cadillacs of the steel. Very expensive. This is probably why Mark thought about this HSS with Page. It's like 1/3 of the cost of the W sections. Everybody's, trying to limit the budget here. So absolutely, the W sections are your caddies. So if you want to use open web steel joists with them, you are welcome to do so, but be careful about the spacing. We can work on that, don't worry. But this is the kind of examples that I'm expecting in terms of the structural floor plan. Did I post? I do have. Let me post another thing for you guys, which is it's a PowerPoint how to roughly size your beams if you're using steel. Okay. Let me see here. Structural steel sections example. Just a sec here. Here. Okay. I'm going to copy this for you. You will find it under course documents all the way down. Okay. So course documents. So this is a lecture or a PowerPoint that I compiled for my BIM for Building Systems class. It's called Structural Steel Sections -plans -sizing. So it should be in your folder now under course document. That's simply tells you how to roughly size a steel beam or a steel girder that simply span over 24 beams, span over 15 for girders. Okay, if you're doing concrete, I'm not sure if anyone here is doing concrete. We go again with a rough sizing of L span over 12.5. I know it's a weird one, but it's between 12 and 13. L over 12 or 13. So I take the intermediate over 12.5. This is for a section. I think Russia is doing concrete. I'm not sure. For a section of 10 inches wide. 10 inches wide. So what you do, let's say you have a 25 span, although that's still huge for concrete. Okay. We would love to limit our concrete spacing to 22, 24. But anyway, let's assume that's 25 divided by 2.5 12 and a half, I'm sorry. So you got 2 feet. So you have a beam of 10 inches by 24 inches for this span. Okay. So you multiply 10 by 24. Okay. That's 250 square inches. If you want to widen, that's the cross section that hold this beam. If you want to widen up your section, let's say, okay, I have 240. I want to do 12 inches wide beam. So what's my depth will be? So that's 240 over 12. That's 20. So if you widen up a little bit from 10 to 12, then your depth will go from 24 to 20. So I want you to understand it this way. Okay, that's again rough sizing. It's not, but again, to give you a sense, when you draw your wall section, you don't draw for me like 1 foot by 1 foot. It's not going to hold your span. This is why we need to see wall sections and why we have this slab, to have a sense of the structure and enclosure and how they attach together. That's it. Any more questions? So I hope I loaded some stuff. Some people were talking about this in their midterm review. So I'll probably post more for you in terms of final projects. Hopefully I can find a good one like Janelle's, because she won the fine grain for all the studios. So.
And that project is on Blackboard. So that's a good.
Yeah, this one on the Blackboard.
Touchstone.
Hopefully I'll post for you. I like Carmen's the 3D and page. So this is what I'm expecting all the way in the final, Mark.
Yep.
Like nice.
Yeah, this is an important project for their portfolio.
For your beams. So
this is an important project for their portfolio, and so it needs to be comprehensive, thorough, and somehow beautiful at the same time. So there's high expectations. Okay, I'll let you all go if we don't have anyone else with any questions.
Can I talk to you for a couple minutes, Mark, after they leave?
Sure, of course.
Yeah, just
so I'll say goodnight to you all, and we'll see you on Thursday.